Like, it's just so kind of backwards to me. And it's like we're putting too much responsibility on consumers, which again, people gonna buy what they want to buy, and we definitely have that right. But at the same time, it's like if you're going to market this as women, by women, for women, because women, you need to make sure women get it. That's one reason why, like, I think Telfar is doing such a good job with their marketing and their products. And personally, I don't have any of their bags, but I really like how they said we're affordable luxury. This is not an item for you to be elitist with. We want to make sure that everybody wants a Telfar gets a Telfar. And what did they turn around and do? Released every goddamn Telfar there is to make sure these people that wanted their product could get it. So I think that's a roundabout way of even going back to what I said about accessibility, because they just do whatever they want to do. And like, I don't know who to talk to, or what do we do as consumers to put that responsibility back on to the brands? Because the brands feel like they've done what they're supposed to do just because they let a woman pick out the colors on it. And like, that's not enough.
I agree. And I said that to someone earlier today. Like, I think that if I were in a different place, then maybe I could have that conversation with the right person to say, hey, so how can we make sure that women get this shoe? Like, even if it means, hey, you run this store, the first 2 hours of your release, only sell it to women. First 2 hours, what is that really taking from you? If a man wants the shoe that bad, he can stand in line for them 2 hours, or he can come back later. It's just that simple. You don't have to do the absolute most and say, we're never going to give you this shoe. No, that's not what we're asking. We're simply asking, if you see it and you want to advertise it for women, then do something about it. Don't just say, well, y'all will be all right. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Nita, more than welcome.
I'm just going to piggyback on what you just said. Lapstone in Philly does this thing. Well, they did this thing where it was like a contest. And basically it was like a raffle entry, but they were only accepting it for women. And I thought that was really dope. And I'd never seen it before. But it was really dope because, like you said, women get first dibs on it. If it's advertised for us, why shouldn't we be able to have, some type of advantage over a man getting it?
I wish I could tell you the answer to that. I wish that men saw it the same. And people don't understand when we say it's a male-dominated industry. It's like, that's who mostly run these stores. We don't have a lot of women-based stores or store managers or anything who are going to stop and say, let me just look out for the women and we can figure out the rest on the back end. They don't think that way. They're all about, at the end of the day, I got to run my business. I got to make my money. What makes you think that the women aren't going to line up just like the men to spend their money? That doesn't make sense to me.
Like, why do men get so offended when we say this stuff? I never understood, like, oh, well, y'all can get men's sneakers too, and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, yeah, but that's a general release sneaker. It's not marketed specifically to men.
Keyword inexclusive.
I think that's my biggest issue with the conversation, because, like, yeah, the accessibility, yeah, the brand, but in general, it's the behavior of the men within this same sneaker culture. I'm using air quotes here. And it's just like, okay, if you're about community, if you're about like people getting what they like, rock what you want to wear instead of just reselling or, stocking stuff away, it's like, then why wouldn't you want the people that want this to have this product? And when we call out bad behaviors, why are you so defensive to say a shoe is a shoe, anybody can buy a shoe, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, yeah, it's fucking duh. We know that. But that's not the point of this conversation.
Hey guys, sorry I'm driving right now, but I'm glad you guys are on this subject. Hey girl, it kind of goes back to what I tweeted earlier. I really do think a majority of men, and listen, if the shoe fits, wear it. If it doesn't, just don't say anything and don't try to please. I really think is a lot of men in sneakers that really just hate women. Because when you ask them these type of questions of why do you guys feel like this, why do you guys get offended, none of them have logical answers. And at the end of the day, listen, one thing about me, I peep a lot of shit. So a lot of these men, I ain't gonna call nobody out, but just know, I watch. A lot of these men, when they're not talking about sneakers, they are already on their timeline degrading women. So at this point, I need y'all to just say that y'all don't like women. Period.
For them to add it to their bios.
Hello. Aside from just discussing men buying women's shoes, I personally wear women's shoes when I like it, but also can we also talk about the colorways that they release? Because I'm not a big like pink or purple or pastel green type of person, so I think we also need to speak about the colorways too that us women receive when Nike or somebody is putting out a sneaker, because pink and purple is not in my wardrobe at all.
We can definitely go there because I think that that's where the pivot turns and it causes an issue because men look at it that way. Oh, the pinks and the purples, that's when we know for sure that shoe is just for you. That's for women, and we expect women to wear it. But the moment we do something that's not exactly a women's colorway, like UNC to Chicago's, oh, I gotta get that. I don't care nothing about it being a women's shoe, and that's fine. We understand that you like it. We have no problem with the fact that you like it. But if you are at the store and it's 17 women in line behind you, why is it an issue for you to say, you know what, this is a women's exclusive shoe? Maybe I need to come back later and make sure that the shoe that was intended for this person gets to this person. I understand, like, men, it's your money. You spend it how you see fit. But at the end of the day, it's intended for that woman. Why do you feel the need to get in the way of that?
Sorry. I agree with that, but I do also agree that we kind of need to put more pressure on these brands, like AG said. Like, I think, like, if it's, a man in line and it's 17 women behind him, I'm not going to say that he should just have that type of compassion, like, oh, let me give the women a shoe. I think it's up to the store or whoever the manager is or whatever to kind of put that out there. Like, listen, like, women first and y'all got to wait. Because at the end of the day, like, men are going to be selfish. We know this. Like, and not even just men. Let's just speak for all of us. When we want something and we're in the front of the line or whatever, like, we're trying to make sure we get that shoe. I think it just depends. Yeah, I think these stores kind of just need to kind of set in motion, like, listen, like, women first. I think there's this girl named Henny on Instagram. She's on here too. And she was working at, I forgot the store. She was working at one of the stores in LA. And it was one of the women's releases. And she kind of spoke up and she made sure that women had those, like, had their shoes first before, like, the men were able to get their pairs. And I guess, if you're a woman that works in footwear, I guess, you could probably try to do your part too and probably try to bring it up to your boss or whatever, or the DM or whatever. Like, listen, like, let's try to work something out so women can get their shoes first.
Right. And Monique, I'll let you speak in just a second. Yeah, she works for the Stash, I think it is. Shout out to her. Henny is one of those people, she's really nice. I've even DM'd her a few times like, hey, I don't know if we'll even get this where I am, but, day of, if I hit you, she's like, definitely. It's a women's shoe, I don't mind helping if I can. Like, she's extremely genuine, and I forgot who she was working for before, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but
SNS, sneakers and stuff. I just remembered.
SNS. Yeah. She definitely, one of the reasons why she ended up moving companies, I think, is because she was able to use her platform to make sure that women got these shoes. She's always stood on that as long as I followed her. So I definitely appreciate people like her. So if she can do it, just working out of a retail store to start off, then we definitely can make that change. Monique, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I realized that like I kind of started this mess. Although, in fairness, this is a discussion that we have had for I don't know, years upon years. I think the larger conversation here is why aren't sneakers unisex? Like, why do we even have to bother with these specifics? Who gets the shoe first? Is it a women's exclusive? Like, why can't it just be sneakers? Like, that's the question, like, at large, really. And if they're going to continue to unnecessarily gender sneakers, then yes, they have to put something in place. The brands, the stores have to put something in place to ensure that the people who, excuse me, child is sick. We have to ensure that like the people who these sneakers are meant for get to them. I think that there was a situation with an accessible shoe. I can't remember what it's like, the Flyknits or something like that. Yes. And like they sold out, and literally none of the people, the children, the adults who could have used these sneakers, who needed these sneakers, got them. Like, it's I don't know how to make that happen. But really, when we're talking about the gendering of sneakers, like maybe we just need to not do that.
I agree to a certain extent. I am all for unisex as well, but I think like a shoe, for example, like Around the Way Girl, that was specifically geared to us. Let's just say men can go crazy and men wanted them if they didn't have the bamboo earring on it. I think it still should be a way where it still should be like very accessible. Like I don't think it's wrong for women to want to feel like we have something of our own, especially because sneakers have been dominated by men all of these years.
And also, women's sneakers are catered to our feet. Like our feet are different from men's. So like my Z-foams fit different than my Hyper Royals. Like they fit differently. They're catered to our feet.
I was just gonna say that from the standpoint of having men's shoes, grade school shoes, women's shoes. The women's shoes are definitely cut a little more dainty than a men's shoe, and it could be the same shoe, like the Citrus 11s that was that spring or something. I don't remember, but when they came out, you know, those are an 11 or 11 below. I'm accustomed to just walking into a store and saying, "Hey, I need a size 7." I think the women's one's like 8.5. I don't remember, but I tried on the women's 8.5, and it was a more narrow cut, so I ended up going up sizes. And I think that's the thing that concerns me the most about this shoe, specifically in women's shoes going forward, is they are cut to fit women's feet. They're not cut to fit a man's foot. And just somebody said something about men know not to buy an extended size of shoe if it's purple or pink. I think the same logic should just be applied when you see women's. And I don't know if men didn't really realize that the shoes are cut differently, but coming from, you know, working in retail, and I've been outside of sneaker retail for 4 years now, but just sitting back and observing, it's been very interesting to see what men go to war about when it comes to sneakers. Like, nobody's telling you you shouldn't buy it or what to do with your money, but it's a woman's shoe. Let women have the chance to buy it before you decide to buy it for yourself or resell it. So I have a question then. So I know we were talking about some women who do work in sneaker retail only allowing women to purchase that shoe before a man does. I don't know where you guys all stay, but I know in Philly, most of the sneaker stores that I walk into, there are men or like younger, you know, boys working there. I mean, you see females here and there, but do we think if there was a change in like the hiring process of more women being in sneaker retail, that the access to a woman's shoe would change? So I worked at Sneaker Villa. They put a store in Flint about 10 years ago. And the management crew was all women. And majority of the staff was women. At that time, it wasn't a whole lot of just big women releases coming out. You had, I think the Breads dropped that year. But in that setting where my store manager was a woman, and the rare times that we did get the extended sizes or the women geared releases, our regulars, because let's be for real, sneaker retail and the sneaker world 10 years ago was a lot different than it is now. The men knew not to touch it if it was a woman's release and it was hot. At the same time, this is when men weren't buying ones, or people weren't buying ones, but that's whatever. And I think in that setting, when it's understood that having that store manager that I had, I would say, she made it known, like, okay, if this is for the kids, this is for the kids. If it's for the men, it's for the men. If it's for the women, it's for the women. And that was to be understood and explained throughout our customer base. I don't know how that would work in a world like now where a lot of the bigger stores don't have control of the raffling or selling process like they did 10 years ago. But I think on a smaller scale, I feel like that's something that can be navigated a lot easily.
I think that part of the conversation is different. It's based on where you're getting the shoe from. So obviously, like a boutique would have more agency over that than like a store in the mall. So like my background was foot stores, Nike and Adidas, and we did what we could, but especially when they started that automated raffle system, like that was completely out of our hands. Versus the smaller boutiques when they can do their women's raffles, or like I know Soul Play in Atlanta did an event for those seafoams, and like all the women that went to the event got a chance to buy the seafoam. So like I think if we see more of that on that level, that's fine. But to expect it from like the larger corporations, if it's not the corporation that's producing the shoe, that would be a tall task to do.
I agree. Channing?
Hey, y'all. I definitely think this conversation is necessary, and I'm so glad that I saw it pop up on my screen. I want to talk about just kind of a few things, just as someone who has a little bit of a different perspective. So I think first and foremost, I think you guys are right to be frustrated with the retail experience, right? Because if you look at the greater scheme, if you look at the grander numbers, if you look at this from a numbers perspective, just from boutiques in general, there are only 5 boutiques that are owned by women. 5 out of roughly 300 in the United States and in Canada. So add that to the fact that the main floor employees are mostly men, then most buyers in these stores are men. That's why sometimes you'll go into boutiques, nobody will say anything, nobody will greet you, nobody will talk to you. You have to figure it out yourself. And 9 times out of 10, you're walking into a space that doesn't have anything under a men's size 9, right? So I think it's all good to hold brands accountable. I definitely think that's an element, but I think making sure to hold your local boutiques accountable and making sure that, hey, y'all are actually buying and placing orders for smaller sizes. Y'all are actually being inclusive in your hiring practices and hiring women for your floor so that women can come in and feel comfortable, and championing other women to actually embrace ownership is going to be imperative for us to even move forward in this game and in this space, right? I think, too, we need to look at release structures that have actually worked. For those of you who remember the A Ma Maniére AJ3, the Raised by Women, they specifically made the shoe only available to women through raffles, through like a raffle structure. Unfortunately, they're not in every state in the nation, right? So it was still kind of limited in who got what. However, women were made priority. And I think we also saw that with the Off-White 4s. The sneakers that gave priority to women, or shot women an early release notification. And I think just from my conversations with certain people and their brands, I think that they're trending more towards that. They're trying to figure out a way to release things a little bit earlier to women. I think a few women got early access for the denims as well this week. But I think we're starting to see that roll out in its entirety. And I think it's not far-fetched to require the brands to make sure that their retail partners kind of embrace that I'm on your mentality and say, okay, these are, especially if we know it's going to be a ridiculously hot release, women need to be made a priority, right? But I think too, with regards to releases, I think what we really need to see is more transparency in regards to release numbers. We don't necessarily know how many units go out. And so, yeah, you're not going to get access to it if only 100,000 pairs are sold, right? So I think we need to be more cognizant of how many pairs of this shoe were actually made for women. And I think what somebody mentioned, why can't we just have unisex? I think one thing that I feel like all the brands are really trying to do is they're trying to show women, because we've been asking for so long, they're trying to show that they hear us by making something specifically a woman's release, right? But if you notice, it's sized in unisex, right? So I think they're trying to figure out what the happy medium is there, but I think they're really making a concerted effort to try to show us that they're releasing a crap ton of stuff with Jordan Fall 2022 hot colorways for women that aren't pink and purple, right? Like, I think as much as we know there are problems, I think we also have to look at the strides that have been made and give props where they're due, because I do think that Nike and Jordan Brand are doing a really great job of trying to actually listen to us and hear us, right? And I think last thing, and then I'll turn off my mic, I think the one thing that I've started to see, and I've talked to people about this ad nauseum, is the fact that we still see some women's silhouettes sitting, right? We know that there have been supply chain issues. We know that we literally had a rush of 50 sneakers that released 1 week. Nobody can keep up with all of that. I'm sorry, I don't know about y'all, but I don't have the budget to be buying 5 pairs of sneakers in a week, right? So sometimes it's like, all right, well, I need to pick and choose what I really want. And so now we're starting to see certain women's releases sittings. Look at Beffy's drop. Beffy's drop sat and sat and sat and sat. And a lot of that may also have to do with the fact that they were like $210, right? But I think it's time for us to kind of look at these release dates and try to anticipate a little bit better when these women's releases are coming out, so that we can make sure that we support if we like them, right? But that's just my 2 cents. I definitely think this is a meaningful conversation, and I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say.
We really appreciate you for chiming in on that. A lot of that makes a lot of sense. Like you said, we can't control what these brands do, but something that stuck out to me was you mentioned there are only 5 women-owned boutiques out of like 300 and something. I think that we as women, it's one of those things where we can't complain completely about how businesses are ran when we aren't doing anything to get into those spaces. Mm-hmm. I think that we have to speak up in those moments. Like, you go to these boutiques and then you're like, well, it's nothing but guys in here. And then you're more aggravated with the fact that nobody's greeting you, no one's talking to you. And I once see you walk up and say, so why does it feel like there's no feminine presence in here? Like, what's going on? How can I help? How can I change this? Or you do realize that more you could have a bigger customer base if you do this. Like, not to say that every woman that's in the shoes has a business mindset and wants to capitalize and be just that far into the space, but at the same time, when we're complaining about things, we have to put ourselves in certain positions, in certain shoes, and look at it in a different lens before we go to complain. So that doesn't make sense to me. In terms of things like Bethany shoes, like those were super dope to me. I got those same day because I felt like this is a woman doing something different. We hadn't seen a release like that. Even some of the guys were like, don't really care for it. But if a Laylee drops something, it's like, wait, that's a Laylee. We don't really care what it looks like. It has a Laylee's name on it, so we need to get it. Not fair to a lot of women. It's a lot of women who don't own the sixes. It's men who own the sixes. And you're like, so what happened? And then you see people like James Whitner with the threes. That was amazing. Like you said, everyone wasn't in the right spaces and states to be there to get those firsthand, but their method to make sure that women had that was great. And I still don't have a pair, which is disheartening. But, it's one of those things where we have to realize where the problem is and where can we insert ourselves or even give an input. Even if you don't want to say, I don't want to work in a retail store, but they need to find somebody to hire somebody. Throw the idea out there and say, I'm just trying to help no one out. It can really be that simple. But where I want to go next is I know a lot of guys feel like, well, women buy grade school shoes. My take on that is it's pretty crazy. If Jordan puts out a full-size run of shoes and says, here y'all go, it's a family size run, and then people are like, well, women, y'all buy our shoes or the grade school shoes, how's that fair? Well, where else are we supposed to get in? Do you want them to just put a W next to the same shoe and put out the exact same sizes? That's a redundant sizing. That's a waste of money for them to put out double the numbers just so they can put a W next to it when we're already included. So if you really want to be honest about it, we're already excluded because they said, well, we're going to take the kids and the women, or the kids and the men, bump the women, y'all just have to get it how you live. How is that fair anywhere? So when they say full family, it's definitely including us in that way. So to say that we're being selfish and taking kids' shoes doesn't make sense. The brand is simply saying, why would we put out the exact same shoes and exact same sizes and call it a day? That's stupid in a sense to say, hate to use that word, but it doesn't make sense.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Regarding the sizing aspect of stuff. So I've seen the we should have unisex shoes conversation a lot, and maybe I'm weird because I have big feet and because I've worked in sneaker retail, but in my opinion, everything is unisex until they say this is a women's exclusive because of the reasons you just listed. It's like, yeah, they release full family, but full family is infant, preschool, men's, and grade school. And notably, no women's, but they assume that women are going to convert to grade school sizes, and then big feet women are going to convert to the smaller men's sizes. And so in my brain, it's like everything is unisex until they say this is the women's exclusive, and that's how I know, okay, this is for me specifically. I wear an 11 women, so 9 men's, that's a money size. There's so many things that I can't get, regardless if it's women's or men's, because they just get eaten up. But am I the only one that thinks that way? Do y'all see that too, or am I just weird?
Well, I know for me, I have small feet, so I'll wear anywhere between a 6 to 6.5 in youth. And the reason why I go towards the kids is because, one, the pricing, and also because of, like I said before, the colorways. Nothing, against women's shoes. I purchase them when it's dope, but for me, it's more about what I like with the style and the colorway, and also the pricing, because sometimes women's shoes can be a little bit more up there than kids. I know back in the day sneakers were never this high, but that's just me, because smaller feet, I didn't really see the need to gear towards more women's when I could pay a cheaper price for kids.
This is the other thing to go with the sizing piece. They know that most women they don't have necessarily big feet, not all women. So they're going to assume that women are just going to go for the grade school sizes automatically. And this is the other thing. I don't know how it's been since I've been out of the country and purchased sneakers, but over in Japan, everybody has a small foot. So they have buku number of 7, 7.5, 8 in men's, and even 6.5, maybe even smaller that are men's sizes. So I feel like brands kind of use that as a way. Like in America, I know when I left, the smallest size that we had in my store in men's was an 8, and the largest that we had in grade school was a 7. So those people that were in between were either buying a too little shoe or a too big shoe, or women that were right on the cusp doing the same thing. And I think because brands have ran with that assumption for so long for a lot of the more popular releases, them throwing like women's exclusives out here and there is pretty much like, here, damn, like, be here, y'all, damn, here you go. Stop asking for it. And it doesn't go any further. And even as like I said, I've been out of the sneaker retail game for about 5 years, but I can remember Jordan Brand was starting to do the extended sizes in mainly the Team Jordans. And I think the first retro that I remember them doing it with was them suede black 11s. But even still, I don't remember a whole lot of men going crazy over it. But I feel like brands pick and choose when they want to care. Because, like I said, any other time it's like, oh, the Fire Red 3 just came out. Oh, she gonna get them in grade school, or she gonna get them in men's. It's no big deal. Versus these, where they like, well, we gave you a women's size. How you get it is how you get it after that point. But I think it's just brands being lazy when they do that whole unisex thing for a shoe.
I have another question. Oh, go ahead. I had on the whole sizing thing. Like, I had a conversation with a man. He was like, oh, well, why are women concerned when men don't wear the same size as women? There's a lot of big feet. Well, not big feet, like similar size.
Big feet. It's
all right, big feet. I don't want to. Big feet women who are competing with these men who don't think that women wear those sizes, so they don't think that the women should be upset. And not all women wear a size 7. Like, there's some women who wear 10.5, and a man just thinks that, like, oh, well, that's, like, basically, fuck you. That's not fair to them.
That's facts. And then also, I think it's hilarious how we keep saying brands, but we know the main brand we're talking about right now is Nike. Like, I can't honestly say that I have felt the same way and had these same issues when I'm going after things of different brands. And then also, like, I think I am a little bit critical of the unisex thing, but then again, like, that shit worked for Yeezy. It worked. So maybe it's like, do we pick and choose which silhouettes we do it on? Like, do we keep the women's exclusive so we know, like, yes, this is pointed towards the women through the storytelling or the marketing or whatever, and then everything else is a free-for-all? Like, I don't know. I don't have the answers for that. But I feel like either way it goes, it all goes back to the accessibility factor.
I like having, like, a shoe that's catered to my foot, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's all, good to have, like, across the board, everything's the same, but our feet are not the same. Like, my Seafoams feel mad comfortable. Ones are not comfortable. There's just, like, a difference in the shoe. And there was somebody in the comments saying they measured the shoe and it was the same. The insole of the shoe is different.
I would even say I've noticed for even like between a kid's cut and when I can get maybe a men's shoe that they do a smaller sizing for, even the cut in between the Jordan 1 and the like a kid's Jordan 1 and a men's Jordan 1 in the same size. I asked somebody in a Nike store the other day, I said, why can't the cutting for men's and kids be the same if they're gonna, have the same size for run that are similar?
I think that's because they assume, like, thinking on a larger scale, it's a kid's shoe. It's made for a kid's foot. Men's feet aren't growing anymore, hopefully. But when you got like a men's size 7 and a kid's size 7, I'll say for like the Jordan 3 specifically. So I have some size 7 men's and size 7 grade school. And it might have been a week where I had wore like the grade school size and then the men's size. And I thought I was tripping for a second. I was just like, oh, the kid's cut is a little more narrow in the toe area.
Definitely. That men's 7 and that kid's 7 is a difference. You can put them next to each other all day and they look the same, but that insole, the way that shoe fit, that's way
different. So different. So it's like the brands know they can cut corners because that's not something people like the regular shoe buyer is not gonna pay attention to that because it's like, okay, my kid want them, boom, whatever, and if I get them in my size, it's gonna fit how I'm used to it fitting if I've been buying it in the same like run, like the size run. But yeah, like the brands, they know that they can get away with it. That's why they do it. So
I agree. Nessa, did you want to say something?
So like the other day, I bought the Jordan 1 taxis. I bought the size 7 in men's. It doesn't fit. And then I bought the size 6.5 in grade school. It doesn't fit. But then I thought to myself, if I got the size 7 in grade school, even though I have some ones, it's too loose. So like with the whole unisex thing, like how would that work for men and women in grade school? Because like when you buy stuff on the Nike app, it says like a size 8 in women's and then like a size, what's the other, like 6.5 in men. So like for me, I don't know how it works for certain shoes. Like for Dunks, I could buy a 7 in men's, it's too big. I could buy a 7 in grade school and it fits perfectly.
Yeah, like you were saying, that it's that toe room is different.
Yeah, I think
it's so different.
Like all my shoes, they all fit differently. Like I buy men's. The only women's shoe I have was the tie-dye ones. I bought them in a size 8 in women's, and those fit perfectly. But the size 7 in grade schools are too big for me now.
It's all about that cut. Go ahead.
If we're gonna make it all inclusive, can we make grade school quality better?
Yes, please. That's very much.
So I said that in the comments.
Big facts.
Grade school quality is fucking garbage.
The price is lower.
So do we agree if they make it better for grade school, or if they make it inclusive that you know for a fact we're going to be paying higher prices like how we do it now? Are we all okay with that?
That's what I said.
I'm okay with that. If you're making a better fucking quality.
Okay.
See, that's the thing. We can't have it both ways. We can't have it both ways.
And I'm sorry, I just refuse to give 2 brands over $200. It's gonna be one or the other. So it's either gonna be Nike or it's gonna be Adidas.
Right.
Right now it's Adidas, and that's just gonna be it.
I think that's why Nike can't go all inclusive, because you've already started by dividing up your shoes in these different sizes. Yeezy didn't start that way. They started saying we're gonna go all inclusive. So at that point, they've made their foundation. It is what it is. Nike has done it for so long. Now you go all inclusive, and people gonna be like, "What? Because now my shoe don't fit the same." Because you built so many shoes so differently. Now I gotta worry about my quality. Is it gonna be grade school quality or men's quality? Now I gotta worry about the price. Am I gonna pay $140 for my shoe? Now I gotta pay $210 for 3.5. That's crazy. So I think Adidas was perfect by starting that way. I think if Nike changes, that they could probably lose more than they would gain.
Well, Yeezy per se, because Adidas regular shoes, they definitely have men's grade school. So
I also think those unisex shoes fit funky because like if y'all tried on those new Prestos with just like the small, medium, large, extra, whatever that bullshit is, like don't none of them shits fit right.
I haven't, but I've heard about it.
That's the OG sizing. Like they used to do small, medium, large, extra large.
Bullshit. That's
so, and they never had half sizes. I think the only ones that had half sizes was like the little slip-on ones that they did like a few years ago. But the OG Prestos with the lace up, and they did like it kind of looked like a boot. I got a pair of them. That like they did a half size. Yeah, they did half sizes in them. But the OG Prestos, I don't even fool with them because it's like I wear 7. It's either gonna be the 6 to 7, and I know that's gonna be too small, or the men's 8 to 9, and that's gonna be too big. So it's some stuff I just avoid because it's like it's not even worth the headache. But Yeezy definitely did it right coming out the gate, just being like, okay, this the sizes, this is how we doing it. If you don't like it, don't fuck with it.
I agree wholeheartedly. Is there anything else that any of the women would like to say? Because I kind of do want to give a couple of guys, as long as y'all ain't talking too crazy.
No, don't let them up here.
Nah, they gonna be talking all day today.
No, we're going to be respectful today. We're going to give you guys your time, and because we don't want to be one-sided. I really want y'all to understand and say, no, we hear y'all, but this why we feel this way. But, of course, y'all going to go all extra left. Just don't go too far, because these women...
Just come up here with logic and actually explanations and facts. Don't come up here just saying, well, y'all been buying men's shoes all these years, so what's the problem? Nigga, I don't want to hear that. So you gotta come up here, be respectful, and talk with facts and logic, not with your emotions.
Yeah,
The man got a man.
don't be in your feelings.
And have some sense.
The man got a man for sure.
Definitely. And before guys talk, Nessa, go ahead.
Just one more thing, and then the material on the men's shoes versus grade school is way different. With the ones, I bought both of them just because the leather on the grade school was not it. It was not the same as the one I bought for full price.
Well, I mean, these shoes are not supposed to last a lifetime. I think that's what it really is. So to them, it's just like, why are we going to waste all this material when kids wear down their sneakers in a week?
True, but there's women out there with small feet who don't want to pay full price.
Right. But you're a woman, not a grade school, technically.
Yeah, but those brands know that women are buying. They know that not just kids are buying those sneakers. They know that women are buying them sneakers. So why would we make them not to last? It's just
Because if they actually made it to last, grade school pricing is not going to be grade school pricing anymore. That's true.
if they give us better quality, they're gonna make us pay for better quality.
But also keep in mind, guys, that there are women buying these for their kids. And so that it is about money at the end of the day. So if they have to raise the price, that also cuts into their bottom line when it comes to women's sales to the actual moms buying shoes for kids.
Yeah, less shoes for these kids.
Oh gosh. Okay. Matt, go ahead.
Okay.
No, this has been a great discussion. Really enjoyed listening to this, and I think that there is a little bit of a problem where the sizes overlap between women's and kids that I think create some unnecessary confusion for the way that things could be. I think one of the first facts that should be addressed is that the U.S. is the only size scale where we have a gendered women's and men's. Every other size scale is unisex, and shoes that are made for men fall within a certain spectrum, and shoes made for women fall within another spectrum. But I do think that an easy solution to this would be to really distinguish what is made for adults and what is made for kids. And I think that you can make range the adult size down into the lower sizes and keep the quality consistent and allow women who want to pay the higher price for the better quality and better built shoes to have that option. And don't take away grade school, because there's a very important part of the grade school business, which is it needs to be more affordable, and it also needs to be there for the boys and girls that are growing up to have access to become adult consumers later. But I think if you first started by offering adult sizes and the adult quality and make that a bigger thing, I think that really would address a lot of the common grievances I hear from women about getting well-built shoes in their size.
Yeah, that's something I definitely can get on board.
I can get with that. Making lower
but
sizes,
also
but higher price, and also
having
GS,
adults,
letting them get the chance to do
there's
so.
still
Pick what you want to
might
pay for.
be that, but can a woman have a release, if that makes any sense?
I mean, I think at this point, I don't know that we ever should be excluding people from buying anything. I don't think there's, at least online, it's really difficult to exclude people based on their gender.
Here we go. They about to let us
or just excluding
they about to drag
based
you
on any type of thing. I think that that's really, really tough thing to do. I mean, I that there's overlap in size, but I mean that's just kind of, I don't know how else to say it. Like, that's just gonna be what it is. Two people going for something are gonna both be going after the same size. Yes, one might be a man, one might be a woman, but I don't know how you really block people out based on gender. I mean, I think that what James did was a very creative way to do that release, and I thought that was awesome. But at scale, on any given Saturday, I don't know how you're gonna create a boys line and a girls line like it's elementary school and say, nope, all the girls line up for shoes here, all the boys line up for shoes there.
Y'all about to drag him, ain't y'all? Y'all about to fuck him up, huh?
I mean, on a general release, no, definitely not. And I think that using James as an example is kind of where that line is drawn. Like you said, the fact that he took time out to say, I'm going to find a way for women to have this because this is who it's meant for. If Nike took time to put together a team to say, this is a shoe that we're putting out probably once, 2, 3, 10 times a year, and this is for this crowd, this is going to be our target audience for this, we need to build a team so that they can market this just to these people. If other people end up with the shoe, great, whatever, we sold the product. But if we're going to take time to do ode to something, then let's do it right. And I think that I may have, for a second, seen someone tweet about a shoe that was meant for a certain nationality, and they were like, well, this was trash, and it was executed horribly. Well, that's one of those times where put together a team. Make it to where if you're going to be in a shoe store or as a brand or as a boutique or whoever, and this is supposed to be something big for them, an ode to them, do it right. That way, when it comes time for shoes to get into the hands of certain people, it makes sense. But I agree with you, trying to do that every Saturday because you just so happen to say, well, we're just going to shoe, it just happens to be women's shoe, not exclusive, we're not doing extended sizing or anything, it's definitely going to be hard. And I don't think that most people want to take their time out to do that.
Who's putting marketing, like, for James's release? Did Nike, or do we know if Nike gave him money? Like, who's putting these marketing dollars behind these locations that we hope to do this?
That's a good question. I have no idea. However, but if we're talking about Nike, for example, for this Around the Way girl, we know Nike got the marketing dollars. We give it to them every week. We know they got it. So, I mean, I think that when we're speaking on them, whether it's just them saying, hey, let's go to New York and put on an event and make sure some women get some shoes. That's one city. At least we know you're trying.
So my question for this Nike, this Jordan Denim one, I just recently learned today that it was called the Around the Way Girl. How come the marketing for that wasn't as hype as, let's just say, a Beffy release or a Virgil Abloh release, rest his soul? Because to me, the hype for it wasn't really out there that I saw. Questions and answers.
I mean, Virgil.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like Virgil is obviously Virgil and the other lady. I don't want to mess up her name. It seemed like she had Union Los Angeles behind her
because she co-owns Union.
Yeah, so that's why.
With respect to the name Around the Way Girl, why that wasn't communicated, it could be something as simple as Nike Legal saying, no, that's the title of a song. We don't have clearance to use that. Like, Nike Legal gets really, like, you'd be surprised how many names it'll be on the draft board. And internally, when they're coming up with concepts, when it comes to go to market, got to change it because the legal said so. So I'm just throwing that.
They could have cleared that one, though. They could have had LL Cool J, his daughters, his wife involved in it. There could have been some negotiation worked out if they were going to roll with the Around the Way Girl because of the look of the shoe, the bamboo earring aspect. If that wasn't going to be, because I remember seeing early pictures of it and it being marketed as the Around the Way Girl. And I'm like, oh, that's really dope. They could have did more, but they didn't.
I think that that's going to go even further, though. Like, even after you say, okay, so LL, can we use his name? He might, I mean, and not to say, of course, don't know the man personally, but he might turn around and say, yeah, ain't no problem, but I want 45%. Now it's like, you know what, never mind, don't even worry about it. It ain't even that serious. Like, we'll just find another name for it. So I think that can go a lot deeper than just saying, hey, do you mind? We'll pay you a couple $1,000, whatever. I think that goes deeper. A lot like why a lot of shoes that we name one thing are something completely different. Like the shoe that's coming out later on this year, the Starfish, I think it is, apparently it's after a purse or something like that. They're not going to ask the people for their rights. No, we just going to use this influence and call it something else. It's cheaper.
A Birkin is not a purse.
Those is fire though.
I feel like you're spot on. I feel like the community names the shoe a lot of times. Like for example, the Panda, we named that the Panda. If you go and you look on the site, it's literally Nike Dunk Low, black and white. Like so like the community kind of names things. But just in reference to the denim, I did see a lot of really cool campaigns from local boutiques that tapped females in their respective communities and did some really cool special like editorial style photo shoots and all of that stuff around the release. So I did see a few for sure.
In regards to the denim ones, I know that the name Around the Way Girls came out when Frank Cook and Kim Jaby dropped like the tech pack that they made, and they showed what the inspiration of the shoe was and what they originally wanted the shoe to include. So it was supposed to come with like mini records inside of the box and like a different little cool things that had an ode to hip hop and to that New York Around the Way girl, but sort of like Bree and Matt were saying earlier, it comes down to licensing and legal and stuff like that. It just ends up getting real crazy. And the other difference between like the Beffy and the Virgils and stuff like this is that this wasn't a collaboration shoe. It was just a women's shoe put out by Nike. Where the thing I wanted to say was it would be nice to see Nike do activations like they did like for the heirloom ones. Like the heirlooms were cool, but it wasn't big enough to give us all of these big neighborhood store activations when the Around the Way girl or the denim one was coming out literally 6 to 7 days later. Like I feel like they could have put those marketing dollars into this one and had a bunch of really inspired events promoted by the brand, and that would have been or felt better than what we got, you know?
I agree. I did think that I saw a lot of cool things being done with that shoe, and I was like, I really like this shoe. However, you put it dead in the center of taxis and denims. I don't know about that. It's too rich for my blood, but you know, I liked it.
I definitely agree with Julissa, and I think like as we can pick apart the naming of the shoe and all those conventions all day, every day, I think it still just comes down to the branding and how the shoe is released. Like they've done exclusive access for majority of women on other shoes, so why is that not a standard practice across like most, if not all, of women's releases? And then when it comes to like the boutique situation, I don't know if those are like not self-inflicted, but like they make those decisions themselves to have these events and then cater to women first, or if that is like something that comes from the top, whoever the buyers or whatever brand they're getting product from. But it all boils down to who is the shoe made for? Can we make sure they get this shoe, and do we have enough product to go around? And I don't think we'll ever 100% have the answers to that because they're not going to tell us.
That's very true. I don't think we'll ever have the answer to the entire conversation, but I just felt like this was necessary so that people would stop saying, well, women, you're being selfish. You wear the kids' shoes, and then you don't want us to touch your shoes, but you touch our shoes. Like, no, let's try to see where we're coming from, and we'll try to see where you guys are coming from. So, Legend?
I just wanted to hop on really quickly because I'm one of those guilty parties, as Bree well knows, that will buy a woman's shoe. And the reasoning is just because it's a fly ass shoe. Now, I've often said I will give a woman first priority. So if one of my homegirls hits me up and says, yo, I want to get XYZ and I wanted it, I'm going for them first. My wife's the same way. But I will be completely honest with you. Some of y'all shoes are a lot better than the stuff that we get. We brought up the Seafoams earlier, one of the best releases of last year. So yeah, cop the pair. But I just really think that. Plus, I don't know if y'all are in the group. The inside liner that y'all have on y'all Jordan ones, they should be feeling so good. I ain't gonna hold you. Like it just slide right into that shoe. But I'm guilty of that. But I also want I want y'all to understand that I would definitely help a woman in the industry or a woman looking for a shoe first, because that's just, it is made for y'all. And those around the way girls, there are certain shoes you just go, come on, bro, leave it alone. And somebody has said in the group, people reselling women's shoes, that's crazy to me. I don't understand why a dude is getting a bunch of shoes and then trying to charge a woman a higher rate because they were made for her. But that's kind of my 2 cents on all of that.
Because in a reseller's mind, they just like Nike. Well, I'm not even gonna say just like Nike, but in a reseller's mind, it's about the dollar sign. Dollar sign don't have a meaning at the end of the day.
It doesn't, but you should also, it's just like when and we had this conversation amongst us, if your homeboy wants a shoe, if I get a shoe and Bree said, oh, I wanted it and it's her size, I'm sending it to her. Like you have to look past it at certain things. Kids are the same way. And we talked about the Fly E's earlier. When I saw those being resold, that pissed me off to another level. But I really do think that just some of those shoes that are just really good, the Silver Toes, I think that's one of the best shoes that people don't, an amazing shoe.
Agreed.
And I think honestly, and y'all are probably gonna kill me for this, I think seeing y'all pull off these fire ass fits, and it's not y'all fault, so I'm not blaming y'all. When y'all put these fire ass fits, like I don't know if she's still here, with Key, with those around the way girls, bruh, she killed that shit. So a dude is gonna see that and go, oh, I can kill that shit too. And you can't. But I think that has a lot, if I'm being honest, like a lot of dudes can't dress. But they see that and they go, oh, I'm gonna do better than her. And you're not. So
That's very true. That is very true. I don't really understand why they're like that. But I mean, that just goes back to Key saying, just be honest and say y'all don't like women. But I mean, and I know that's not everybody's case, but generally speaking, if you don't like women, you don't like women, man. Like, we ain't calling you necessarily gay, but that's some
it's feminine
behavior characteristics that we're not gonna speak on.
Okay.
Now that's the reason why I jump in. I have one thing to say. There's a freaking earring on the shoe. Y'all have a good night. That's all I have to say.
Yo.
Jordan is watching kid movies. That's what makes it worse. It's kid club right now.
Jordan's at the movies. I'm done.
He's at the kids club, y'all.
That's crazy. But I mean, he's right. Like, that's part of it. Like, again, you pick certain characteristics from the shoe and be like, oh, it's a women's shoe, so I can't do that. Like, nah. But then if it's nothing distinctively that says, hey, this is a woman's shoe, oh, I'm gonna go get that and I really don't care. Okay, fine, whatever. But understand that it's a woman somewhere who doesn't have the accessibility, and you're not helping. You and all 4 of your homeboys are not helping her get this shoe, and it was intended for her.
I agree, Bree, and I feel like it kind of after the meaning behind it and like the whole storytelling aspect. Because if you ask a handful of people, oh, why do you like sneakers? Half of them are going to tell you, oh, it's the storytelling, it's understanding the history, it's this, it's that. Okay, so why are you throwing it out the window when it comes to this women's release? And now you're dyeing them and bleaching them and things, and customization is cool, but now you're throwing away the very details of that storytelling that you said you love sneakers for. And now you on my head because I do love them for that reason, and I can't get it. And you mad? I'm mad.
So
that's not mapping, bro.
So, but to counteract that, like if we go back to, because we brought up I'm in year 3s, that story, raised by a black woman, guess what? Raised by a single black woman. So all of those, some of those things, while it does, again, I'm not saying that it makes it right. I related to that, but I get it that the shoe was made for you. Still don't have a pair. That's just because I can't afford it.
Okay. Well, you know what?
Exactly. Right. And that's why I picked that specific shoe, because other stuff, I just said, hey, that shit was fire. When we talk about storytelling, that's different.
Earlier, that's what I said. Like, when I asked, I tweeted a series of shoes, and I'm like, somebody was like, "Oh, don't forget those." No, I'm not going to include those because I understand that it's raised by women. So whether your mom was black, white, Latino, black, blue, purple, it doesn't matter to me. Like, that's one of those stories that people can relate to on multiple levels. So if you want to say, you know what, my mom don't wear sneakers, she don't care, but this meant something to me because of the story behind it, I'm not going to take that from you. I can't take that from you. I understand that. However, if you wanted to go and wear that shoe with the earring on and say, well, my mama was around the way, girl, I'm going to just look at you and be like, all right, you got it. Wear your shoes, bro. Like, sometimes the story makes sense, and then sometimes you really just looking for an excuse to be ridiculous. That and because of how it was released. Because yes, it was a women's release, and yes, everybody can identify with strong women in their lives, but they prioritized getting that shoe to women and then released it multiple times so everyone else had access as well. That's the difference there for me anyway, in addition to what Bree said, which makes a lot of sense.
I think what boggles my mind is not saying nothing against people from other communities copping, Jordan 1s or whatever, but the hype beast that want to cop just every Jordan 1 out there that ruins it for everybody else too.
I agree. I think we're gonna have that regardless of what shoe or which. We can talk about a full family size one for that, and it's gonna be that hype beast that got in your way for your little cousin who wears size 5, and they were like, "Well, I'm wearing this size 5 just as a matter of fact, I wear a 6, but all they got is this 5, so I'm finna wear it just because it's the brand new shoe." Like, we're gonna deal with that regardless. It's one of those things that's just probably never gonna change. Hopefully, it's calmed down now that she's sitting in stores, but probably not. Sam, were you speaking?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, but I think she was more or less saying like people who only wear Jordan 1s. Like there are some people that die hard Jordan 1s. That's all they ever wear. They won't wear another brand or try another silhouette. Like those type of hype beasts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of, I guess that could go both ways. Some people really just genuinely only like Jordan 1s. Kenneth is one of those people. I don't know, but yeah, that's an interesting one as well. I think we're going to deal with that forever as well.
But Mr. Unlove is not a hype beast, though.
Right. That's why I said it's one of those things that it's like,
that's where the difference comes from.
Yeah. It's going to always fight those. Kari, how are you?
Oh, hey, guys. I'm good. I'm good. How are y'all doing?
You sound nervous.
I'm so scared, bro.
This
He
is
was so weak.
It's a heavy stage. You got a lot of
Kari walking in with the pizza with the fire in the background.
There's a lot of people in here. Listen, this is women's business, so where to begin? All right. So first of all, great conversation, Bree. You got the city out here tonight, don't you? Sheesh, give it up for Bree. Like emojis up for Bree, first of all. Like, cause I'm not gonna front. I'm not gonna front. Like, you got put on the spot with this, and you really deliver, Bree. So good shit for real. Okay. A few things. Number one, shout to Takara. Takara made a point. Her point was that the Around the Way girl, first of all, let's just talk Around the Way girls first. Around the Way, first of all, like a lot of other women's drops, were very, very delayed. So in terms of marketing, I think that was part of the problem. The Around the Way girl, to Takara's point, was supposed to drop like damn near 2020, like February-ish time frame. And because of supply chain, all the other things that were going on, they got just pushed and pushed and pushed. Now, the real reason, like, I guess, we're going to get spicy. Let's get spicy. Like, y'all know me. So, we know that Frank Cook was part of that project, like Jolisa said. We also know that Kim was part of that project. Neither one of them are with Jordan Brand at this point. I don't know if people knew that about Kim, but if you follow Kim, then she had already announced on her Instagram that she's moving over to the Air Max product line. and she's not going to be with Jordan Brand. So politics at the brand sometimes say if someone is not affiliated with the brand, the marketing may not be executed in the way that it was originally intended when the sneaker was conceptualized. That's the most political way that I can say that. But basically, the marketing kind of fell by the way. Like, legality is a thing. Like, that's a thing. But honestly, I think that Nike has enough money for LL Cool J to relinquish the rights to Around the Way Girl. Like, I talked about that when I put a tweet out there. I was like, yo, the most fire campaign would have been to recreate the video. They should have went to New York. Nike has a huge presence in New York. They should have recreated the video, 2022 version, throw LL Cool J into that joint, use the original track, do it behind the design, get the designers in there, get Frank on sneakers, get Kim on sneakers, get the team, because there was a lot of people. Coco was involved. A lot of people was involved with women's Jordan on the women's Jordan team. Both black and white, by the way, were involved with the project. But yeah, like really drive the point home. Really drive Around the Way Girl home. They should have done what's it called? The drop off. There was no drop off segment for the Around the Way Girls. Are you crazy? Like, yo, y'all did a 10-part Air Force One, this docu-series, mini-series about the Air Force One. Y'all went from Philly to New York to Baltimore. It didn't go to fucking St. Louis, by the way, which I thought was some bullshit. But luckily, complimented by having Nelly on it. Yo, how you not go to St. Louis for the Air Force One?
Can you just work at Nike at this point?
Wait, you said when that? Wait, what happened?
You just work at Nike at this point. Like, how can we nominate you?
Yo, like, listen, like, yo, I be having ideas, but we gonna make it real spicy. We gonna turn this shit up, like sample size. Like, we gonna turn this shit up tonight. Like, Bree, you want to turn this shit up? Because we can do that if you want to do that.
Yo, I'm definitely.
Wait, hold on.
Started, my guy.
We with it.
Go off. Yo, I was supposed to do some work with Nike a long time ago, but I got word from somebody who had a conversation with somebody at the brand that Kari is too negative. And because Kari is too negative, that's why Kari hasn't been on the app. Now, that's word from Oregon. I don't know how valid it is, how valid it's not, but hey, like if what I do and what I say is seen as that at the brand, y'all not gonna see me on the app. And I got no beef with nobody. Like, everybody's opinion is everybody's opinion. And trying to, politic your way into people's good graces, like, is a losing battle because it's always a moving target with people all the time. You know what I mean? So, like, you just got to do what you do. And, like, what the good Lord has for you is what the good Lord has for you. And that's really where I'm at with it right now. So, getting back, though, to, like, the way that they kind of fumble the Around the Way. So, they call this denim. We saw the shoe roll out the way that it did, and they just dropped it. To me, I haven't seen a fumble this bad on a Jordan 1 since the Brotherhood. They fumbled the Brotherhood really, really bad, in my opinion. They should have done a lot more with that shoe. I understand licensing with Omegas, that's fine, but they didn't even give the shoe a special box, which I thought was some bullshit. But they gave, so many other shoes, all of that, whatever. So that's what it is. There's politics. Yeah, I mean, licensing is a thing. Legality is a thing. Matt is totally right about that. Like, Nike does not play. Like, if you've ever worked for Nike, done work for Nike, Channing, Key, like people that have worked, like with the brand in an official capacity, in a contracted capacity, like, y'all understand, like, they will make you redo the shit if you say the wrong word. If you say something incorrectly, like, they don't play about that. They will have meetings on meetings about a word or a phrase or a sentence. So Matt's right about that, but I do think that there was a way around that if they cared that much about the shoe. But, and I don't know if this has been brought up yet, men's dollars are needed to move this product. Like, I'm gonna keep it a bean, right? Like, these sellouts happen because men show up too. And, a point was made, and I guess I'll let this person remain anonymous, but like, when you make it blatantly obvious that you're excluding a group of any kind from a drop, you could be liable from a legal standpoint for discrimination. For somebody petty enough to do that. Not to say that they would win, right? But it could open up a can of worms that you don't necessarily want to open up. And that's why, like, we have these women's extended release drops, the extended size drops, like, everybody's included. This is for everybody. This is for the men too. This is for everybody. Even though we know really who it's for. I mean, to Jordan's point, the shoe had a fucking earring on it. I mean, like, come on, it's got a bamboo earring. Like, yo, like, I mean, like, you know, like, if you have to transform a shoe, the shoe was almost unrecognizable from its original form, you might not need to buy it. Like, let's just keep it a buck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you gotta take off all the accessories, bleach it, cut it up, stretch it out, wear a different fit with it, you might just need to leave it alone. There's a lot of other shoes out there to wear. You know what I'm saying? But again, I respect everybody doing what they did. I know there's people in the audience that copied it. Listen, again,
it had a freaking earring on. No.
I'm going to see his plug before you start speaking again, sir.
Yo, he gonna put you in the gulag.
He was shouting. He is shouting at us.
He is upset.
Why is he echoing?
Good afternoon. It might be my headphone. I don't know. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I think it's all doing well. It had a fucking earring on it, and that's all. That's all I have to say. Okay.
The shoe had an earring on it. It had a message behind it. But I think that the fumble was both on the part. It was, listen, what the people do on Twitter, what I noticed is they amplify, right? They're going to amplify. This was a brand problem, I think, at its very core. Again, I'm talking specifically around the way girl. I do put accountability on the brand, right? Like, they should have done a better job telling this story, but they didn't. And then men came out. I'm going to tell you, it really started with who's the dude that I don't like and he doesn't like me? Who's the dude that I don't like and he doesn't like me? Private Selection. That dude, when they took the shoe to SneakerCon and they were talking about it, that's really where it started because they had the shoe early and people were like, oh yeah, it's denim, it's cool. I don't really care about the earring. That's stupid. But they didn't give a shit about the story. And if the people, if the people like that don't care about the story, it's just going to have a ripple effect. So, the brand.
That's what I mean by hype beast, because I mean they really just get hype shoes in just to move off their shelves.
Yeah, like I call bullshit on 98% of what Private Selection does. Like y'all can, I don't know if we record, but like I'll go on record for that, and they know that a lot of what they do is bullshit. At the end of the day, like they did a podcast.
Please,
no,
he said he's gonna keep it spicy. Goddamn.
No, like they did a
We don't
podcast.
recognize them in Dallas. We don't recognize them here.
And we gonna listen. We planning on. First of all, we planning to pull up to fucking Dallas with SneakerCon. So let's.
Yo, what is happening?
That's gonna be fun. That's
I
gonna
don't
be fun.
know this man, y'all.
Whatever battery y'all put in this nigga's back right now, somebody take it out, please.
It's been a
I
long
love
time.
it. When we going to Dallas?
It's been a long time. Hey, look, October 15th.
I'm trying to get a bus.
October 15th.
I'm gonna be in Dallas, so just letting y'all know.
Damn. Look,
All right, bet.
October 15th. So, they say that they're doing a service by allowing people to see a shoe early, and they're not doing anything for themselves. And the reason why they have all them early sneakers is to help other people make the decision to buy. Bullshit. And we all know that it's bullshit. It's with a clout. It's a clout chase. We got it, right? But that's where it started. That's where the narrative really started taking off. Denim ones are coming. Denim ones are coming. Denim, denim, denim. And the story started evaporating from there. And I hated that because if y'all follow Frank on Instagram, Frank had a situation that his health was down real bad. Like, so prayers up for Frank. He seems to be recovering now, but so his voice got quiet for a while, and then Kim, when the shoe dropped, the Jordan women's team was talking about it on Instagram, but at that point they had kind of lost the rabbit. So denim was the thing. Now, let me switch gears a little bit, because I got a DM that I was told that I can share, and this might be a grenade thrown on a timeline, but I'm gonna share. So the DM says, "Women want equality until it's inconvenient. Sneakers are the only article of clothing I hear women complain about men buying the product. Women have been discriminated against for so long when it comes to stuff, and now they want to do the same things over these shoes." Maybe he means discriminatory. Anyway, he said, hurt people hurt people. We had this conversation months ago. The solution has always been separate but equal, but nobody wants to truly be honest about this stuff. So my grenade that I'm throwing to the women in here really is, how does it make you all feel, right? Because one of the arguments that we hear is women want equality all the time. And even KO tweeted about this, like, shout to KO, respect to KO. But KO mentioned, we talked about the women's Travis Scott's coming up, right? And he was like, yo, I know a woman that's going to have them. Like, yo, y'all got to get it how you live. Women got to get it out of the mud. Like, y'all want equality. Okay, go be fucking equal. Go get in the lines and go get the shoe. So that's, what are thoughts on that? I'm going to be quiet.
Yo, respectfully, I'm not even responding to that because I feel like we talked a little bit too much in his face, but men to still not get it. So if anybody else want to talk, but I'm not responding to that, like, for real.
I mean, so I'll say it like this. I don't 100% disagree. I don't think I want. I more importantly want things to be equitable.
That's what I was gonna say.
Not
Equality
really
is not
so
equity.
Yeah, not really so much the equality. I mean, because I guess personally for me, I'm like that Denzel meme. I'm from around the way. I'm gonna get it. I'm leaving with something. So, like, I don't really feel upset about that.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jenny. Oh, no, I just wanted to say real quick, I think it's really easy to make statements like that when you've always been the gender that's catered to. It's really easy to make, like, it's just like, not to get racial or anything, it's real easy for, like, certain groups of the population to say, oh, I don't understand, being scared of the police. Yeah, because you've never had to be. You get what I'm saying? You've never had to try to figure out how you gonna get something, or go without because it doesn't come in your size, or look at your brothers or your uncles or whatever that can get stuff but you can't get it because it never comes in a smaller size, or it never comes in this, that, or the third. It's real easy to make those generalized statements when you ain't never had the issues, right? So I would just suggest whoever wrote that you kindly reply, like, that's cool, but at the end of the day, you're the majority. You're not the minority. Right?
And the person that wrote that
I just want accessibility as well. I mean, inequality, women, it's the shame, the disrespect for women, especially the Black women. But when it comes to sneakers, the accessibility for us, depending on, I would say, where people live or whatever, even with Nike and the sneakers getting early access, we want access.
And can I say something just real quick? I feel like, Karen, whoever, like, one thing I'll say is, I understand where women come from, because a while ago, I felt the same way when it came to the I'm On My Year release. There was a part of me that felt like, but damn, man, these shoes were made for us, but they're not really ending up in our hands. So that same way that I feel about that, like a situation like that, it's like when a women's exclusive comes out, it's kind of just like, well, what's so hard for me to kind of just take the back seat on that?
It's not the same
and
thing.
in terms of, like, equality, we know that at the end of the day, we've been living in a world. The reality is we live in a world that is male dominated. And the least that we could do is step up and try to do what
I'm
we
leaving
can
here with something.
to push that equality bar as high as we can for them.
That's true.
I think, now specifically responding to that DM, Kari, it's like he said, people choosing to understand at this point. Because number one, equality is not equity, and we know that. Number two, we know in the overall scheme of sneaker culture, and not even just the sneaker culture, but literally the world, like, women are second. So when we're talking about access to sneakers and wanting women to have things for women, it goes beyond the sneakers, and it goes even into women being hired, women designers, women in these roles that allow other women to thrive and, like, be a part of these conversation to damn near every aspect of life is like incredibly frustrating. We're just hyper focused on sneakers right now because that's what we all have in common. Put this on damn near every single aspect of life. And that's the most frustrating part of it.
Yeah, like it's scary. Like if you can't understand why women want exclusive, I don't even want to like know what are your thoughts about other like just major issues in the world. Like something so small as you not, you know, as you just kind of like hanging back on a women's exclusive is hard for you. And I don't know. And I'm not saying that me having a girlfriend is like setting the difference, but like I've had a conversation with my girlfriend about how does she feel when she saw guys, because I was on Twitter at the time, how did she feel when she saw guys getting W's on like the women's exclusive when they did the women's exclusive drop on sneakers? I believe that you have to have a women's account to get that shoe. And she was pissed because here it is. She is a woman with a sneakers account set to her gender, yet there's guys getting the shoe. And it's just kind of like, look, like y'all get exclusives. I mean, we not we get exclusives, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't ever have, like, a shoe that's specifically catered to the woman very often. So now that we're seeing that, I just feel like it's hard for men to just kind of just take the back seat because the sneaker game has been so predominantly, you know, it's been dominant that they're seeing women come in and be more creative. They're on the sneakers app. They're in the fits, like someone said earlier. And it's just kind of like they're mad. Like guys are angry right now.
Can I circle back to like the thing where you said sneakers are the only article of clothing that you can do that with? Why would you want to wear a women's top? It's catered to our hips. Pants are catered to us. Like, why would you want to do that with another article of clothing? Sneakers are the only thing that could do that with.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with everything.
Like, do you want my bra, bro? Like, what?
Yeah.
Yep.
You gonna go get all the women graphic tees? Like, what is it that you want? But okay, yeah. We talked about that. I'm gonna just say that he was a little late showing up to the space, but definitely tapped into that. But go off, sir.
Can I step in and say real quick? Hello.
Hey.
Hello. I don't know if everyone knows me here, but I copyright for Joe Fresh Goods and for Reebok, so I just wanted to introduce myself or start talking. One, that DM is ignorant, and that was not a bomb to be excited about dropping in a space full of predominantly Black women discussing a space that is very limited and not accessible to them. Two, accessibility and equality is not the same, and I think it's very ignorant and purposely obtuse to act like that is the same thing. Wanting equality across pay and responsibilities and opportunities and rights is definitely not the same as niggas putting together fucking pieces of leather and stitching. So the fact that one would even equate those two things lets you know how ignorant they are on the topic of women's rights and women just existing, period. To think that we should have to grovel for sneakers because we already are looked past in the rest of the world in any other aspects. So I just wanted to throw that in there because that's not even worth addressing any further from my point of view.
Oh, sis. Wow.
Thank you.
You said that in a more educated and streamlined way, but that is exactly pretty much what I was trying to say. Like, yeah.
Yes, Monique. What was it? What's going on, girl?
I honestly just wanted to say that to whomever sent the DM, you're a bitch. Like, going through cars all the time.
Really is nice.
Yo.
But that's not what it is, though.
Let's just be real.
We're being great. That's not bullying. Right. This is not that's all. Let's not name call. Let's be respectful.
Oh shit.
No, I said this. I told Kari. I said, look, we're gonna get on here. Monique's gonna be the first one to cut somebody out. I said it. I called it. Go ahead. Sorry. I am sorry.
Shit. Oh shit. Oh shit.
That's the energy they came with. So of course, like it is. I'm sorry. No, it's a cowardly move. You're gonna go through Kari. That's safe.
Oh shit.
Okay? Because you know he is a Black man. You know that he is sometimes occasionally neutral. You know he'll bring it to the group, and we'll have to have some respectful
It's just like timeline. You can say that with your chest to another man, but why can't you have like a civilized conversation with a woman about it?
Which is really what this is for. And it's crazy because I have 6 requests for mics right now, and only 2 of them are men. Like, I've had more women requests all night than anything. And it's like, y'all had so much to say. You wanted to argue. You wanted to go back and forth. You wanted us to see it. And you have this opportunity, and ain't nobody saying too much.
If they rather use their keyboard,
to say.
Right, they rather use their keyboard than their voice. Like, what?
Well, bring those 2 men up.
Twitter fingers.
Sam, please.
Yo, listen, my DM is going crazy.
It's me.
Listen, I just sent a DM and said, your move. Because hey.
Oh, shit.
You started this. Wait, Kari, I got a question. Do we know this individual?
Do y'all know this individual? I don't. Some of y'all, but definitely not all of y'all.
Let's not play coy.
No, for real. Like that's like y'all know me. Y'all know if somebody asks me no, like y'all know it's a no. Like y'all know me online and offline. So if this, if there's a certain piece that has to be in the vault, it needs to be in the vault. But again, it's on this person to decide whether or not they want to come up and have that conversation.
Okay.
But,
I just want to talk. Come up, please.
We gonna hurt you. So bring up those other 2 guys.
Yo, y'all really saying, come outside. We're not gonna jump you.
I'm moving some mics around. If I remove y'all, I'm sorry. We get you back. Juan, how are you today?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Juan.
First, I wanted to say thank you for the conversation. I haven't said much because it's kind of like why I didn't say a whole lot other than having private conversations during when they had the issues with the abolishment of abortion, because it's not my place. I'm not a woman. So I should have really no opinion over what women do with their bodies other than to help protect them. So this whole issue, women issues, I really don't have much to say other than it's helped give me even more perspective. And I think that's one of the things that just we as a society struggle with, that self-reflection portion where we call ourselves out and really take a look at we do. When I do presentations, I try to explain how each one of us is like an iceberg. And, if you look at the Titanic, it sank because the part of the iceberg that it hit was the part that you don't see. And so us, that's how we screw up, is because we don't look at what's under our iceberg, what's caused us to be who we are, to have the opinions that we have. So we have to lower that level of water so we see what's in that iceberg to make us think the way that we think. And a lot of this is based on privilege. In a male-dominated space, a lot of us have had the privilege to just really get what we want. Now it's been a lot harder recently, as the kind of the landscape of buying shoes has just been so different.
It was hilarious.
When you're used to getting what you want, and then there's something that comes up that you want but you can't get, you start to push back because it's like, well, no, that I want that too. It's hard for us to be in a society like today to be selfless, and so I think it's important that we as people do the work ourselves to think about that selfless portion.
Hi. You can take your phone.
Of course, when I saw the shoes, the first thing I wanted to do was paint them. But I know that it's important for the people who want to get them first. It's the same thing with the Flyes. I wanted a pair of Flyes, but I wanted to make sure that people who wanted them got them. And so I would wait 2 or 3 weeks. If they sold out, they sold out. It wasn't for me. But if there would happen to be a pair of my size, I would try to grab a pair. So I've been seeing kind of like the bleaching of the customs, and it's not a knock on on the customizers, but there are certain shoes that either I won't touch, or there are certain shoes that if I do a custom, it has to continue the message of the shoe. So listening to you all speak, I think about like going back to my childhood, like my sister was the one who taught me how to dress. My sister was the one that kind of taught me that. She's the one that taught me how to find the deals in Burlington and stuff like that. And so I'm not saying like that's why I want a shoe. But I think of those stories when you are customizing certain shoes, so you don't change the story, because I know this shoe has a powerful story, albeit it wasn't told the way that it should have been told. But I think it's important that we look at this as men. We look at this as, okay, what are the women saying? I really wanted to jump in here just because I wanted to listen to what you all were saying, because again, like this wasn't a shoe that was made for me. It was a shoe that was made for you all. And so it helps me as a man to, if I'm going to say that I advocate for women, or I'm an ally for women, or I want to be a protector of women, that includes us men listening to women.
That makes sense. Sorry, y'all. Had to get back.
You gonna say
my well, was not where I needed to be. But no, that makes sense. Why? I mean, it, like you said, and there's people like you who I respect for the way that you maneuver in that. Your intentions, like, I know I can do something with this. I can make this something that is clearly my work. I can make this shoe look completely different. But let me make sure everybody else gets it first. That's not their mindset. It's people who couldn't wait a single day. Like, I got to get these early. I'm paying what I got to pay to dip it in some bleach. And honestly, some of the looks that I've seen in bleach, it still doesn't even make it look more masculine. So for when we're speaking about this particular shoe, it still doesn't make sense to me. Like,
no, I had to look up I even went as far as to look up the history of the bamboo earring, looking at the history of how, coming from ancient Africans, and you can't customize that shoe without keeping the bamboo earrings with it, because like that's part of the story, that's part of the shoe. And so like as I'm thinking, like if I end up, say there's a pair available, or say later on they're for retail on the resale sites or something like that, like if I ever do a custom on it, I have to include the bamboo earring, because that's part of the story. And I watched the Around the Way Girl video 2 or 3 times tonight, just kind of like looking at what all the women were wearing. And so really bleaching that shoe is something you should do. You really should be putting like those graffiti letters on them, the big gaudy graffiti, and that those bamboo earrings. Matter of fact, those bamboo earrings should be sewn somewhere else. I have a lot of ideas, but anyway, I think it's important. Like I said, there are certain shoes I won't, if I get them, I won't touch them, just because it diminishes the story. Or if there's a way for me to amplify the story, then I'll do that. But if I get my hands on a pair, it's going to be a lot of graffiti on them.
That makes a lot of sense. Again, Juan, we appreciate your input. It's always, always much appreciated, because it's always a different perspective, because people think that, well, you're into shoes, so you're just going to buy whatever, and you really don't care. And people don't realize that how much research you actually do to put into your work. And for people like me, and for those that actually follow you, we understand how important the story is behind those, and we really appreciate your work for that. So thank you for what it is that you do and for what you contribute to this culture in itself.
Salute. Hey, real quick, are we doing something with these Jason Tatum University City Jordans that are coming, the new retros?
I seen them, and I have some ideas. As soon as I seen that U City on that toe guard, bro, I was like,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes, we'll talk. We'll talk.
Okay, we'll talk. That's St. Louis talk, y'all. That's St. Louis talk.
Oh my Jesus. Anyway.
Nobody wants to go there.
Hey, I'm just saying, sorry. Keisha,
Hold on.
The only thing I was gonna say was, I guess, in part to the DM that Kari read was, this is not exclusive to. They mentioned like women don't do this about any other article of clothing or product, but it's not exclusive to sneakers. Telfar bags have been out since 2014. Sorry, y'all. Telfar bags have been out since 2014, and with all of us being trapped in the house in 2020, of course, there was a higher demand. They became more popular. And what did sneakers niggas do? They start using bots to buy up Telfars, even though the brand specifically said they wanted to make those as accessible as possible. They tried to go every way around it that they could, to the point they start doing lines just like we're doing for sneakers to get fucking Telfar bags. And that was because niggas were using their bots and buying up bags and reselling them to black and brown women and LGBTQ. And plus, who were they? About that, we just have to be honest and intentional about that, because it's not just about women's sneakers. It's where y'all feel like y'all can profit off of.
Exactly. And also, again, if you want to talk, please don't talk to Kari. Please come to the stage because I got time tonight. That's all.
Sheesh. Y'all got. I'm not gonna front.
They got energy.
No, Kari.
They got energy. They got energy.
Hey, Kari, you open up the Frank stand for whoever that is, and that's fucked up.
I'm dead. I'm gonna go ahead and put my hand down because I feel like every point I made or we're gonna make was already said. So shout out to y'all. I worked at Foot Locker for 4 years, and I just wanted to say I do hate resellers. Y'all definitely killed the dreams of the kid that wanted the shoes. So just working at Foot Locker and seeing how some of the Foot Locker not to mention
I hate yourself.
Who buy women's shoes. I'm like, bro, just because you wear a size 8 don't mean you got to cop the women's pair, but that's literally meant for women. And as y'all were mentioning,
9.
It has a whole purpose, and
I wear size 9.
the whole world damn near is, you feel me, it's a man's world, they say, right? So it's just like, let the women have something, bro. Damn,
You trying to get some pussy, ain't you?
Asking. That's all we asking.
Something that was designed for us.
But yeah, shout out to y'all. Like I said, y'all made all the points already, for real.
Thank you for speaking. Thank you for coming up and making that point and being a man and being honest and open enough to say, I feel where y'all coming from. I see it and it makes sense. We appreciate that.
I meant to put the heart. My bad.
Everybody want to kill me.
It's just like, they buy shoes for $150, $130, and they sell that bitch for $700. It's like, damn.
I mean, but who lets them do that though?
Who is into that market, hype beast. Because I've only bought one pair of shoes resale because I really, really, really wanted them, of course. And I never paid more than $350 for a pair of shoes.
Okay.
I worked at Foot Locker. I had the discount, so since I started working there, I really ain't been buying shoes for real.
No, but I mean, now a lot of these, resellers, they get it from the store. They friends with the store manager.
Yeah, and that's what I touched on that. Like, even the Foot Locker employees who was backdooring all the shoes, like, they had the game fucked up. Like, damn. So I watch kids. I'm from Sacramento, so I used to watch kids from the South always come up to. I used to work at the big store in Roseville, which is on the north side of town. It's just was one kick. There's 3 guys
Who the hell is that?
come in and that fuck with the manager hella tough, and they get all the shoes. I just damn, that shit crazy. Mom's always yelling at me, how y'all just open up the doors and all the kicks are gone? So, oh no, man. I put in my raffle ticket. Why the raffle? I watched this guy walk out with 10 pair of shoes. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I just work here.
That's also because Foot Locker don't pay enough, but
you feel me? They definitely don't.
Don't get me started on fucking.
They definitely don't pay enough.
It don't, but it works in handy if you know some. If you're nice to somebody, I'll say it like that.
This is why I was always proud of AG for her policy when it came to women's sneakers. AG, that policy. Listen. Hey.
Look, I do my part. So like I worked in the stores for a long time too, and if something came along that I wasn't getting or we had enough extra pairs for, I would make sure the ladies got them. No tax, whatever. But if I got a shoe and a man wanted it and it was a woman's shoe, even if it wasn't a woman's shoe, I was taxing niggas. I don't care. I do not care. Fuck y'all.
See how I would do it so people would guarantee their shoes. I would just say you can have mine because, like, you know, a certain amount of the stock.
Nigga, I know you wouldn't.
And I won't charge you for it. You just pay full price, and I'll use my discount. That's how I made money.
So doesn't that technically still make you a reseller?
No, because you're paying regular retail price.
But that's not the price that you paid.
Regular retail price.
But that's not the price you paid, though.
Right.
You just kept the difference. That's a tip.
Yeah,
Resale is when you charge somebody more than retail. Now you are reselling this shoe.
I thought
that's what we consider it.
Okay,
But
I consider it when I'm paying more than you got. But I mean, if you got it for $140 and you made a profit, that to me is reselling.
But that's what you was gonna pay anyway.
I see what y'all saying.
So stores are getting tips, and while they're selling to resellers, they're getting a wholesale price, selling them to resellers. So basically,
Also true.
Collecting tips.
Okay. So I just kept the store's tip. You feel me?
So you stole.
Wow.
Pretty much.
I stole from the rich. I'm Robin Hood. Come on now.
I'm weak.
Wow.
What's up? Wait. Never mind. I'm not even gonna say it. Oh man, y'all, let's get to these fans. D-Will, what's going on?
Yo, what's good, everybody? Everybody doing? All right, so first and foremost, do want to say I appreciate this live, man. Like, it really sparked my insight because there's a lot of shit that I ain't know. I ain't gonna cap. Cause I think I spoke on this earlier today, and I was like, growing up, that shit was a norm. Like, any dude I knew with smaller feet, they always had women's releases, plus the men. And they went in. I was like, okay, so that's normal. Okay, cool. So I didn't think that was a problem until just you guys night. And I do agree that it is the brands because, yeah, the hype bees are getting these denim ones, but how they get access to them, which is a big problem. And they did phone the bag really bad. They should have key on there for sure. For sure.
Please, but thank you.
Please. Who was it? It was Key, Simply, and I want to say it was Takara, and y'all forgive me if it wasn't, but
it was Simply B, I think.
Yeah, and it was one more though. But a couple of them really went ahead and got their shoes, wore them, and I don't care if it was Nike or just a simple boutique in their cities. Like, these girls really did make these shoes look like something that most people wouldn't. I know so many people that was like, it was all right. It was just a blue jean shoe. And then these pictures come out and they're like, wait, I think I like these. Hold on. And it's like, that's what these women are trying to do in this space, and y'all just overlooking them. You like the picture and be like, oh, they got a lot of likes, and they carry on and then get mad when your sales look like trash. Like, put these women in these spaces and see what happens.
Facts.
But anyway, I know that wasn't your point. Sorry, go ahead.
I know that was my point. I was kind of slow getting there, but I got one more question. I'm dropping off. So with this idea of like preaching to the choir, how do we get this ideal? With this ideal of like preaching to the choir, how do we get this ideal of like accessibility? How do we get out to the general public? Because I think everybody just called. Well, I ain't gonna say everybody, but someone others. Like, we get it. But how do you get out to the folks who don't get it? Like, what's your idea on that?
What you mean don't get it?
They're not going to get it because they don't want to get it.
You mean like the people that don't like understand where we're coming from? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like that.
They have to do things like come to spaces like this and actually take time to where they, like, I think it was you actually that tweeted and was like, is it a conversation if both sides don't get to speak? Like, that's fine, but you actually have to sit, and when you don't have the opportunity to interject to try to make your point, not saying you in particular, but when you don't have a moment to interject and actually sit back and listen, then you can understand it. The biggest problem is a lot of people don't want to understand it. They want to interject. They want to tell us what we're trying to say when they don't even care.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Because again, a lot of these men speak with their emotions. They don't speak with logic or anything else. I'm telling you, their egos and sneakers are crazy. Like I'm not bugging when I say this.
Like, y'all see it, we see it heavy.
Yeah, and it takes for men like you, like men like Kari. I mean, even Legend, who's gonna put on the women's shoe. Like, it takes for the ones that actually see it and understand it.
How did I catch it straight?
Bro, I hear you, but understand that this woman, she wants this shoe because of this, because she just went in the 3 Foot Lockers and ain't nobody got them. But you just told me you doubled up on them, bro. But the shoe was meant for her. Like, you gotta break that down for those people. They're not trying to hear you.
No, my boys, I be like, look, man, that ain't the shoe. I say you want it, you don't look like it, but that was the shoe. I see somebody else.
How did I catch it straight?
And I'll reply to the DM.
How the fuck did I catch it straight?
Left alone. No red.
Wait, so you just said that and you just did like?
That's hilarious. I think it was Kari, Jordan, and Mark, and I might be out of order. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah, no, I think it was Mark or Jordan first before me.
Go ahead. You can go ahead. All right, couple of things. Firstly, Nike? Nah, it's Nike. Secondly,
Wait, what?
It's not Nike. It's Nike. It's Nike.
it's Nike. Right, listen, so see when M-I-K-E, the name Mike, do you say Mikey? Or is it Mike?
We say Nike in the U.S.
No, but just
No, I see this, bro. This is a phonics lesson right now. What you gotta say, my man?
Gotta say, simply, if you want your shoes, you want them cheap. Given the price of the dollar versus the pound, you need to buy them in Scotland. Right? Simple.
What?
I can help you with that. Right? Any Nike shoe, Scotland, $1, £1. Honestly, fuck it. You need to get the shoes.
Hey, you saying that we need to buy our shoes from Scotland? That's what you're
I'm
saying.
telling you, honestly, you've never had a better time. See, like 3 years ago, right? We always used to go to Florida.
No, fuck that.
You
You shot at me, nigga. You shot at me. That's fucked up.
And we go and buy
No, fuck that.
trainers, what you call
Fuck that
sneakers,
shit.
trainers.
Who the fuck is this?
I don't know.
What the fuck is he saying?
Like, basically, not Levi's. But
Who the
any
fuck
kind
is
of denim
this?
or you go over to the US, you go to Florida, and you would fill your suitcase with that stuff. Not now. Honestly, not now. Because we used to be able to get $2 to £1. So I'm telling you, there is a cheat now. It's only $1 to £1. You need to get your ass over here.
How the fuck?
You will be able to get. I wish I sold trainers or sneakers. You call them sneakers, because honestly, there is an absolute vacuum just now, whereby you could actually get amazing deals over here. Trust me, what you're paying over there, you'll get them cheaper over here now.
Mark, just real quick, what's the DHL shipping rate from Scotland to the United States?
Fuck knows. Right. But listen, come over for a little holiday, you'll get the benefit of the holiday, and you'll go home with a suitcase of quality fucking sneakers.
Man, playing with
What the fuck he's saying?
He's got a point. Like, so he's got a point. I know everybody was starting to listen to him talking. They were like, but he has a point. Listen, a lot of places, we gonna keep it funky. A lot of places overseas started off and they got their start by being resale shops. Let's talk about Apata. Let's talk about there was another, was it Atmos? But there was another one that was based overseas. They got their start by, people either going overseas, buying shoes, bringing them back, selling them in the States, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So there's listen, and at a global level, when we talk about quarterly earnings and stuff like that, right? Like the brand doesn't perform the same way in North America as it does globally. They're down bad in China. Europe is kind of coming up, kind of sort of. So I mean, I get what Mark is driving at.
Look, I'm half tongue in cheek, mate. Like, listen,
right?
What?
Right.
Like, I'm half tongue in cheek. I am jesting a little bit, but in all seriousness,
what the fuck? I was about to log off.
Basically,
you miss me at this desk, buddy, because you be in here, and I know you miss me.
Retail outlets in the States, quality, absolute quality, because you would be getting a bargain. But I genuinely, in all seriousness, the last 3 days, I've seen a drop in the pound that basically means you're getting $1 to £1, which is unheard of. So I genuinely think there's something to consider there. In all seriousness, as I say, half tongue in cheek, I don't have a stake in it, but just throwing it out there. Anyway, listen, thanks for your hospitality. Put your hand down. There's no need. There's no need to be.
Yo, what the fuck?
So next time anyone's thinking about taking us a world trip, we're gonna stop by. I'm coming.
Hey, listen, I love listening to your accent. It's fair. Like, I'm very impressed that you're able to understand what you're doing fair.
What the fuck?
Just quality. So anyway, listen, I'll go back on mute. I'll enjoy listening to you. Carry on. Cheers.
Thanks, Mark.
Yo, I think KO wants to come up. I want KO to come up if he's still here because I also want to make it clear.
He was next and then he disappeared. Tell him the question.
He tweeted and I wasn't trying to equate. Let me clarify. I wasn't trying to equate what KO was saying with what that DM was. Those are two very, very different things because KO didn't even say that. KO's point was that there are women in Atlanta, that are pounding the pavement, which was actually going to kind of segue into a point that I was going to make after Jordan. But I don't want to overstep Jordan. I just wanted to see if KO was in the audience to let him come up and speak his piece.
This is just so I can say it with my whole chest. Whoever sent that DM to Kari, you're a whole coward. Like, the fact that you want to say that type of shit when really that's some white supremacist ass rhetoric that you just spewed right there. You're using it against women that look like. Never mind. I'm gonna start cursing. You're just an idiot, bro. Like, why would you ever say anything like that? And then when it happens to you by a white man, Latino man, your own black brother, sister, whoever, you want to call racism or bigotry or something like that because you're a straight bigot yourself. So I need you to understand that you're a dickhead and you should probably go look at yourself and get some fucking therapy.
Well, y'all been having this energy pent up for a minute.
I missed that key. I missed that sound so fucking much.
This is so wild. That's because people say shit and they can't say it with their chest. They need to hide something.
That's true.
DMs and stuff like that. Like, we could have all had like a really intelligent conversation, but people don't want to understand the topic at hand. They want to have their opinion and that's it. And that's fine. But you can't go and have those conversations with somebody else and then think like you're doing something. Have the conversation with the people that are actually having the conversation.
Yeah.
Agreed. Kari, and then I'm gonna let the next person speak.
Thank you, Bree. Let me see if I can bring it down for a minute. So first thing, so we're talking about. I think that the question was to D. Will, like, well, what's kind of the solution here? Like, what can we do? You're not gonna stop men from reselling. You're not gonna stop men from trying to swoop in on women's shoes. You're just not, right? So what ends up happening at that point is, I would like to see at some point, like, somebody do what AG did, but bigger, right? Like, who, like, okay, there's a
Not me.
There are a pair of women, and they own a boutique called Sneak City. I don't know if y'all are familiar with them or not, but they're resellers, and they own a store. They do sneaker cons. They do the whole 9 yards. I want to see a lot more of that, right? Like, I would like to see a lot more of that. Like, James Whitner spoke, and in the vein of what he said at the footwear forum, he answered a question that was about, you know, women and in his spaces and stuff like that, and how there seems to be like a lack, you know, there. And so his answer was, I'm looking at y'all. Like, his answer was like, I'm looking at the women, right? Like, show me something. Like, you know, he wants to see more of that. And so, like, what I would love to see is more people like Sneak City. Listen, if the women started getting to it, like, I know I talk a lot about Tiana when it comes to botting. Botting is a whole other situation, right? But like, Tiana is a botter that's crushing niggas out here, like crushing the men with these sneaker drops. You know what I'm saying? So like, I would love to see more women coming out here getting all the shoes. Them being the new resellers, them being the new people that are getting all the shoes and got the connections and really making it happen out here in these streets, because that, I think, is going to be part of getting the sneakers out of men's hands that are really intended for women. Now, the other part of that, I'm just gonna drop the bomb. Like, screw it. Like, we ain't here tonight. So there is speculation that there is a prominent boutique that is establishing a women's and kids specific boutique only for women's and kids. And when it happens, because it's literally already in development, when that happens, that should shift accessibility for women's and kids product. Because it's been heard, right, that there is a real lack of accessibility for product out here. I know every chain can't do that. I know every boutique can't do that. But I think that's a step in the right direction. I think that as Nike starts shifting to these neighborhood drops and things like that, having, you know, like, the brand gives a lot of boutiques carte blanche to do really whatever they want to do with these drops. Heirlooms, Visionaires, Rebellionaires, all these other shoes. They tell them, yo, it's on you. You know, I think Wish does a good job with activations. Like, but you can have activations. Ladies' nights, you know, like things like that. You can have these things that, you know, give direct accessibility, you know, to these women-specific products and gives them first dibs, right? So, yeah, I think that there's ways to do it. I just think that, you know, the brands boutique at the store levels not be so busy. I think that the brand at a high level, at a corporate level, need to do a better job of amplifying the stories the way that they're meant to be told, because a lot of people are pouring a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into these projects for the brand themselves, you know, to slap a label on it and to push it out to people. So that's my 2 cents. I feel like I got spice, but I'm gonna be quiet for now.
I agree. And I think that's kind of what I spoke on behind Channing a bit was, you know, we can't point fingers and then we're not really trying to get into these spaces and help change the way things are going. But I also think that there are a lot of women out here who simply just want to wear the shoe. Like, not every woman wants to be in the business of, I want to work in the store, I need to start reselling, I need to get into this area of it or that area of it. I think that a lot of them just want to enjoy shoes and they enjoy their 9 to 5. Some people literally say, I would sit in the law office all day. I do not have time to go and work part-time at this shoe boutique just to say, hey, I want to help the other women, I just don't have time. I just want to wear the shoes. But, I mean, on the flip side, you know, there's people like me. If I don't mind. You want to give me some numbers? That's fine. I'll sit in your boutique all day and run these numbers. But
numbers ass.
You have to actually find these women, and the women who are saying, you know, let's make a change, I think are the ones that are actually out here trying to do that. They're just not being noticed. And then when it comes to asking certain men, like, so where did you start? Where should I start? They're not as nice when it comes to, you know, giving that hand, I'd say.
I think, Bree, you're 100%. Like, I'm sorry, just hop in real quick because it's discussions that I've actually been privy to for sure. Like, I don't think you guys understand the level of mentorship that is missing specifically for women in this space. And the space is competitive as hell. Like, I don't want to go off on a tangent on another subject, but I think it's very clear that sometimes as women, we have to move a little bit different, right? Like, I don't think you understand how very real it is to, like, ask somebody for help and them to expect something else completely from you, right? And so for us, it's it's a very tumultuous type of tit for tat type of like thing where we're just trying to get over here, get it done. But then because I'm a woman, you come at me a little bit different, or you handle me a little bit different, or you don't treat me with this type of respect that I deserve, right? Like, these are also things that we have to encounter. And I feel like that turns a lot of women off from being on the business side because they just don't want to have to deal with that. You get what I'm saying?
That's a
So
great point.
So I think you're right. You're 100% right, Kari. 100%. And I think there's a lot of women who are trying to do that, myself and my team included. But we have to figure out how we're going to move so that we're not confronted with the issues that come along with being a woman in this space. Agreed.
Can I just say something here? I'm sorry, I'm just gonna take a quick second. Brief. Thank you for adding me and thank you for hosting this.
Oh no, you're good. You were next anyway. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think this is a perfect opportunity to jump in because I feel like this is so incredibly passionate for me and a particular small brand that's coming up from where I am at in New York, but it's catered to women and also new sneaker enthusiasts coming up in India. To Kari's point, I think boutique companies or boutiques just generally focused on women's sneakers or any women's streetwear is not just privy to within the US. There's Makeway in Canada. There's I forgot the name of the place in India, but that's where I'm from, which is crazy. Anyway, that'll come to me eventually. But the point is, these exist. The piece that's actually missing right now is really lack of discovery, and I think it's really the opportunity. Going back to what Channing just said, women are really tired of being the face of making the change, and it really boils down to where women supporting women is always going to be the case, but how can we get men here in this group as allies to really amplify voices, brands, people at the table. If friends are working at media,
Why don't you come in here and say that?
Designer or building
What?
product, find them and hire them.
You know what? I got one.
To start because a lot of these sneakers
Exactly.
talk about like the resale value, the look and feel of the sneakers, but there are real women and LGBTQ and people of color behind the scenes who are not really talked about as much. And I think that's is a perfect opportunity to amplify there. The last thing I would say, I think Bree and I were just talking about this offline, was brands that either not just beyond.
Bree said I can't get either of the Air Maxes. I called her a racist.
Felix was a part of Nike's brand, gave up, and was it with Under Armour, gave up, and now she has her own brand, Sage. How can we amplify that, and how can we get more women and more men to buy those brands, both for kids, all of our other members that we know. The same thing with independent boutiques. People know that they want to start something. If you feel like you're well-resourced, invest in them. I think those are like the perfect opportunities to get more women and more women-focused and women-aligned brands out in the open. And it really is a big challenge in a lot of ways for big brands to step up and make an impact and support and be more inclusive, not just in marketing gimmicks and everything else that comes with it, but more also with real accessible collectibles that they could have over time. The last thing I would say about education mentorship. For folks who don't know about this, and I found out very recently, Adidas has a seed program which is focused on bringing women, specifically Black, brown women, and people from underserved backgrounds into the sneaker community and the sneaker industry. So if you think you're excited about it and want to be a part of the sneaker industry, please apply. That's all there is. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that. I don't think a lot of people knew about that. I think I recently read about it, like maybe this week actually. So that's out there for you guys. Please take that resource. If anybody else has any resources they want to share, please do.
Love that. Thank you for that. Yeah.
All right. And then I think, don't let me butcher this. Is that Pope?
Yeah, Pope.
Okay.
Pope. Yep.
Gotcha.
But really, my name's Shalisa. Hey, y'all. Howdy. I came in and counted a bit or so. Some of my points have already been spoken about.
But I reiterate just in case some men have joined that wasn't here earlier. But I think D-Well, he asked, like, how do you reach the people who aren't in the conversation? So in my day job, besides what I do a lot of stuff with DE&I. And we have this conversation all the time. Why are we having candid conversations, kind of things like this? Why are we doing this, that, and the third? And it's not reaching the people who need to be changed, right? And so what needs to happen is it has to be a from the top down approach. Like it has to be someone says, oh, it's mandatory that you go have these meetings because people at work, and I'm pretty sure things like this are just a microcosm of society. So people like, why do you have employee resource groups dedicated to a certain race? Why do you have programs for hiring just for women or minorities, things of that nature? It's the same thing, right? So until you get fair accessibility or like Car, you mentioned boutiques to have things dedicated towards women, things won't, change that much. I'm in Houston, and so Premium Goods had this whole rollout for their Lady May 14s. I thought they were going to do the exact same thing for the Around the Way girls, but then the name got changed. So I don't know what happened with that, but they did do first come, first serve. So that just let me know there was a whole bunch of stuff. Until have people pushing the brands from the top, putting women in spaces, rolling out campaigns where women are in the shoes, and people don't have to rely on going on YouTube to see a review of a sneaker. That's the only way minds may start to change. Or like, okay, yeah, it really is a woman's sneaker because you see women in them. And I think that's the piece that the marketing of it is also missing. But y'all touched on that a lot. Already, but just in case some guys came in and don't know. But also too, I think what we haven't touched on too is buy what you like, right? Like if guys, you're gonna get the sneaker, but you don't have to be disrespectful about it. Like I see guys on the timeline like, oh, you gotta go through me to get through it. Like, why does it have to be that? You can't just get your sneaker and go about your business. You gotta throw it in my face that I didn't get it. Like, that's the part you need to disrespect. And Kari, I told you this earlier, most men don't respect women anyway. Patriarchy always wins.
Yeah. And I think he touched on that. That's a part of the problem here is that, there's some, like, I try to be responsible. In tonight's space, I know this is a woman's, primarily a women's space, right? And so, all the fellas in here, it was our job to speak when spoken to. And I know that there are frustrations and that sometimes, just allowing a space to vent is necessary, right? So thank you, Bree, for holding this space. For me, I tend to try to be results driven. And so I'm like, okay, I understand it. And I hear, what's going on. How do we really fix it? Like for real, like I want us to kind of walk away from this tonight, like really feeling like, nah, that's really the thing we can do to try to help more women get their hands on more of these shoes out here. Like, how do we really do this for real? Like, do we just need to pay Sam to be a scammer and to just get us all shoes?
Yep, that's what it. Oh, hold on, but hold on, Car. Before you say that, as long as you don't want dunks, she can help you because she's out of the dunk game, panda game. Excuse me, she's out of the panda game.
What do we do?
I have two best pandas right now, but this isn't about me.
Oh, my fault.
But I could be. We have Fred. Would you like to say something?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? So I missed the beginning part of this. But I've been in this space for like the last 20-25 minutes. So I feel like that what I'm gonna say is probably not gonna vibe with you guys pretty well. But before I say what I have to say, I just want to ask: this is a space about women primarily getting the sneakers, right? That are women's exclusive or no?
Yes.
Okay. So before I say what I have to say, I'm not going against anything that was just said by the past two speakers because I feel like they touched on something that's more like more than just sneakers. So I'm not touching on that. All right.
Got it.
All right, so when it comes to women's exclusive sneakers, like, I feel like it's such a slippery slope because where does it stop? You know, like, what about like sneakers that are just for kids? I see women going after those as well, or like sneakers that a specific holiday, like Chinese New Year's, like can only people that have Chinese descent go for those.
So let me jump. If you please don't mind if I jump in.
Well, I have more to say, but
my bad. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Thanks.
And then like going just a bit back to what somebody else was earlier, like the guy that worked at Foot Locker and he would see men in women's sneakers and he would laugh at them. Like, what's different than if somebody came in, like a guy wearing makeup, like would he also laugh at that person because that's meant for women?
We're literally talking about shoes, bro.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. This is the same guy that you guys were praising and laughing at when you mentioned that comment. And like, where does it stop? And it's not just that this space is about sneakers. You guys have touched on other topics, but like this is the slippery slope that I'm talking about when you want to say, oh, sneakers are just meant for women, but at the same time, like, what if a guy actually really, really fucks with that sneaker? Like, can he not purchase that sneaker?
We didn't say that. That's not what's being said. What's being said is the access to a women's sneaker was not as easily available to women who wanted the shoe, and that they are. I'm assuming from how this what is it called, Spaces? The Spaces got started is because someone tweeted their disdain for men bragging about having a very obviously for women shoe. That's people do in their personal time, as far as like how they dress and how they present themselves to the world, is a conversation that does not even come close to the one that we've been having. And you said you just hopped off, so I understand why you're asking the question that you're asking, but at the same time, it's tone deaf to ask that question.
So can I say something to that? Like
his state. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, so the reason why I brought that up is because he specifically said that when he sees a man walking into Foot Locker and he sees them wearing a women's sneaker, he'll laugh at them. And when he said that, y'all laughed. And so in my head, I'm like thinking, well, what if a man came in wearing makeup or a skirt or women's clothes? Like, would he also have that same reaction? Like, I don't think that's okay to have that type of comment, you know?
Here's the thing. Coming up in the era, I'm speaking for myself when I say this. Coming up in the era that I did, I'm from an area where we did look at a dude funny for wearing a women's shoe. It's like, that's for the girls. Let the girls have that. And that was the discourse behind it. Times have changed. Excuse me. People are more comfortable being themselves, but that you can't say that's the same thing as somebody wearing makeup and a tennis shoe. Because if their outward appearance is given masculine.
They said the Round the Way girl supposed to drop in 2020.
His outward appearance is masculine. It's still gonna be like, okay, little foot, like this would be stuff that get off. If you see somebody, someone presenting in a feminine state, then that's different than a sneaker. That's very different than a sneaker. And I'm gonna really, that's not my community to speak on. But I will say, there's some discourse or some jokes that are going to fly over your head if you haven't really been entrenched in the sneaker culture. Because back then when they was releasing women's exclusives, it was literally like the fucking beach you've ever seen in your life. Right. Like, careful, with the exception of the white, what was it, the aquas. Those are white, with a white base, and the aqua colors, that's what the black was. Other than that, that's not the point that anybody really needed to. And the joke's gonna fly. It's just like, all right, you got little feet. That's my first thought. I'm seeing them wear women's exclusive too. You got little feet. Okay. And whether I laugh or not depends on what I see.
Yeah, but I feel
also
like
you put a lot of.
Can I ask you a question first?
On the
go ahead.
dude speaking.
Is your problem the fact that he said when guys come in in wearing women's sneakers that we laughed, or is there a bigger problem that you see here? Because you keep going to the fact that people laughed when he said about, you know, guys coming in wearing women's sneakers. So I'm just trying to see your point.
So I guess my main point was that, like, throughout this entire space, we were talking about empowering women and black and brown people and the LGBTQ, and then he has a comment like that, and it sort of like contradicts what you guys are trying to support. And so, like, I understand that back then that was part of like sneaker culture, but I feel like, you know, times have changed, and that's not like a comment or a mindset you should have, especially nowadays, you know.
Well, I'll say that by bringing in the LGBTQ is something that honestly you brought here because no one mentioned it. It's really not about us. It's not about him laughing or us laughing when he made the comment. It's more of he made the comment saying, if it's a women exclusive, I don't wear it. And I just think that is kind of crazy that men decide they want to go and get in the way of women buying shoes when they want the shoe and it's meant for a woman, bro. Like, let her have a shoe. Like, it's comical to him, but it's not him degrading that person or him saying something is wrong with this person. If that's what they like, that's what they like. And I'm pretty sure that he's fine with that. But us also laughing is us not wanting to be aggressive and problematic about it. Literally trying to find a medium for it. So it's not that people are just laughing and picking at that person. It's not picking or teasing or bullying or anything. It's literally him not understanding it. When you see something that you don't understand, you look at it and say, that's crazy, and you chuckle and you move on.
Right. I don't think it had anything to do with, you know, actually a man wearing a women's shoe, but like he said, it was men coming in there, you know, pretty much bullying women, trying to get in women's way of getting the shoe. So I think that's what he meant. And just to be clear, I am a part of the LGBT community. So if I felt that that's where he was going, I promise you I would have shut that down.
Right. And the reason why it like sort of bothered me is one of my best friends, I sort of like related it to that. Like, if that person happened to walk into like his Foot Locker at the time, like, would he judge that person the same way he would judge a man if he was wearing a women's shoe? And so that's why it sort of just bothered me a little bit.
I have a question for you too.
Yeah.
You mentioned like women wearing, I guess, GS or kids sneakers. A lot of the time that happens because going back to accessibility, that's the size that we can fit. So all things considered, if we can't wear the kids' shoes and we can't fit the men's release, do we just wait until women's exclusives? What do women wear then?
No, that's not. No, so that's part of the reason why I said it's such a slippery slope to have, because that what you just said is the same issue that men would have. Like, well, all I can wear is, you know, that women's shoe only goes up to a 10.5, so I'm a 10.5. Like, I'm gonna buy it, but it's just slippery slope, because what happens with the Black History Month pairs of shoes? Like, who is allowed to buy those, right? Or like Chinese New Year's, like, who's allowed to buy those?
But that's the thing. I don't think it's allowed. Right.
No, I know that's all right. Allowed is not the right word to say, but like, would I be judged if I go out and wear that? Is what I'm trying to get at.
Listen, I think the greater takeaway of this conversation should be the accessibility portion, because nowhere in this conversation have any of us said like men cannot do this, they shouldn't wear it, they shouldn't buy it, whatever. The takeaway from this conversation should be that women deserve access to things that were created by, and directed to women. The other things that you're discussing, yeah, those are valid points, but within this conversation, that's not what this conversation was about.
Gotcha. All right. So then maybe I was not in the right space, but that's part of the reason why I was asking those questions at the beginning, just because I feel like this space sort of just went to like broader issues.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this space has also been going on for 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
so
and
unfortunately,
I did mention that I was like pretty late to it.
Yeah, we appreciate you for actually asking the question so that we can clarify it. Because, I mean, to come in and to just say,
oh, well, y'all were doing this and this was wrong, XYZ, that would have been a different conversation. So we appreciate you for asking the question so that we could actually explain it to you. So that it doesn't seem like we're trying to
I'm logging off in 3 minutes.
police on the topic when that's not the case. So no disrespect, no anything like that. We appreciate you for actually asking the question.
Right. It's the first space I ever gone on, so I appreciate it too.
Well, this is my first space ever hosting, so I thank you for coming by.
Thank you.
I think next we got Kev. Hey, Kev, how are you?
Oh, okay.
Kev, can you hear us? Because I can see that you're not muted, but I don't think it's saying.
Can y'all hear me?
There you go.
My bad. I had the AirPod in. My bad. I'm at work. When I saw y'all started this, at first I thought it was just a woman only thing, but I'm glad to be in here. I want to say first of all, we don't say this enough. I jumped in here, so if I missed somebody saying this, my bad. But we only do this partly because we love sneakers, like anybody else. But we do this for the attention of women. To a certain degree. We're not wearing shoes to get other men, straight.
What?
I feel like even for the LGBT community, you're doing it to look fly, to attract other people. So I want to start off with saying that. And as far as my manager spoke, for me,
okay,
it doesn't matter if you find a woman exclusive, if you're wearing something that you like, wear what you like. If you wearing skinny jeans like I do, and old head got to say something about it, the hell with him. You do. You're supposed to do what you like. You do what you love. That's all I really had to say, though. And I love the way the conversation was going. Thank y'all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We all agree to do what we want because that's what we want to do. If you want to wear it, wear it. If you don't. However, if it's a women's shoe and you are a man, please allow us to have our access to it because it's a women exclusive for a reason. Exclusive for a reason.
My bad. I did tell you that. I agree. But you don't know how I feel. Both T, Bree, both y'all been on the podcast before. To me, y'all still get the better colorways. So when it comes to stuff like this, the bubblegum ones and shit like that, you already know, man. Like, I'm not going to push that away, but I'm sure I would like that if I was somebody.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the common misconception. A lot of men are thinking that we're saying, no, don't go buy the shoe. No, you can't. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying, please don't go and double up on the shoe in the mall when it's 30 million girls in here that want the shoe, and now we don't have access to it. The accessibility is so limited as it is, and you're just now causing a bigger problem. But
big facts. One more point.
Go ahead.
I know y'all were kind of asking, like, a solution. I want to say this too, though. Like, I guess these companies can do a better job at marketing, like, women. But then you don't want to get to a woman. But then you don't want to get to a point where, like, of course, sex sells, and they just putting women in tight clothes or bodysuits with shoes just to show it off or whatever, just to sell a shoe either.
What?
No, that's what it does. But I want to. I'm trying to stay with y'all. I'm leaving work. I'm on my own now.
We appreciate you, Irv.
Hello, I'm gonna say this. I just have like maybe a couple questions, and it's kind of just more so like for me, I've always been told and taught that without a solution, a problem is just a complaint. And I would love to really find out, like, as somebody who lend my aid in getting sneakers, but I don't know if my tweets get seen or not, or if that's just kind of like not the way that you guys choose to go about it. But I think that there are plenty of guys
feel like that is a solution instead of a bunch of men getting on the timeline and saying, "Well, this store in my neighborhood had it, this store over here had it." It's like, okay, you're at the store, or women want this shoe. Like, pick up the shoe. Nobody, I don't think anybody's gonna stiff you for your money, but just lend some type of helping hand instead of just saying like, "Oh, you need to go out there and get it."
Right. Like I see a lot of women do it. I mean, and I'm not gonna take it from the guys that do, but it's a lot of women that are like perfect example for the Around the Way girls. I tweeted because I was like, I know this release is gonna be crazy, and I don't want to deal with it. So if anybody sees them, if anybody from overseas get their hand on a pair, want to send me a pair, look out. Like I appreciate it. And another woman DM'd me and said, "They're sitting on the shelf over here. I got you. What size do you need?" I can count on my hands the amount of time I've wanted a women's shoe, and a man has DM'd me and said, "I'll look out for you." And when I say I can count on my hands, it's gonna take one hand, and I can probably name the 4 or 5 guys that have done it. Like, men don't always do that, but if you did, you would be helping. You would be part of the solution to the problem. So it has to start there at the least, and then maybe the brands or the boutiques or these stores, whoever will see it, and we can be the example for them to start. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of solutions, but we actually have to sit and come together and actually brainstorm it and put it out there, because they're not really trying. Clearly, they're not trying to come up with a solution, so we have to and propose it.
Exactly. Yeah, because honestly, the only women's exclusive that I have in my collection is the Amama Year 3s, and that was a release that I, for one, helped someone else get first, and I paid resale for my pair. But these days, like, since the conversation has been abroad, it's just kind of like, well, hell, I spent like $400, $500 for my pair, and I bought that pair because, hell, every time I look at that shoe, I think about the story and how much work my mom put in to raise me. And so it was just kind of like, shit, hell, like, if, like, with a release like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, should I feel terrible now to wear, like, my women's exclusive shoe that I own?
No. Wear the shoe.
Again, we don't have a problem with men wearing women's shoes. If you guys can just amplify us a little bit more, help us out a little bit more. If you guys know the shoe is for us. Like, I can tell you right now, when that Travis Scott come out, we having this conversation right now, but I'm pretty sure you're not gonna help us because y'all gonna want them for yourselves.
Right.
Well, I got reverse market, so if you need help with the women's Travis Scott, if I can help it, hit me up. And
we need help.
Yeah, like
please.
And also, I want to say too, like, I want to ask this too for everybody: is extended sizing like the amplifier for men to grab a women's shoe? Because I saw a tweet earlier, and I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but I think Kari tweeted it, and it said something like, "Sorry, ladies, but guys ain't finna let y'all have this one," and it was basically just like, hey, extended sizes will be in the shoe, and it's kind of like if they're extended sizing, then they are meant for men, because it's like the expectation is that, well, we made them in bigger sizes for men. It's like there's no thought that women just have big feet.
No, I don't think Cardi was saying like, oh, this is an opportunity for men to get it. The thing is, if women do stuff that is in size, probably maybe 70% of these men we wouldn't have to deal with. But now because it's extended, it comes in extended sizes, these men feel like, oh, well, it's going to be big enough to be in size, so let me just get it anyway.
I don't know. Let me ask.
Wasn't like saying like, oh yeah, like he was really saying like, man, sorry, I hate to break it to y'all, but these guys ain't finna let y'all through. And I was just like, damn, that's crazy. Like the sight of extended sizing means, oh well, yeah, this ain't no women's exclusive, because like you said, if it was supposed to be for up to a certain size. And two, and I may be biased and feeling like I am pushing a little bit harder for women to get their exclusives because naturally when they don't go to extended sizing, I can't get them. I'm gonna need 11 and a half minutes. So all I can do is basically be a open book. And what I do hate to see is sometimes I've seen men who just be like, well, they ain't my size, but I'm about to resell these clothes because they resell for several hundreds of dollars. And it's just kind of like, damn, like that shit sucks.
That's what I wanted to. Yeah. That's very true. A bunch of men like to buy smaller size and then like double up the prices on shoes that are exclusive for women's. Like the bubble gums, I went for it, and then I had someone like I know personally, he's a guy. He bought like 4 pairs.
Bree said if they identify as a woman, it's for them.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Like niggas taxing on women's shoes is very weird to me. Like I've had to go as far as like stop women because a lot of times women get in like they come to my DM that aren't sneakerheads but they see shoes and they want to buy shit because this is cute. And I try my best to give them as much information as possible. And it's like men really do prey on the sneaker industry even when it comes to fake sneakers. Like a guy had some pink off-white sneakers and luckily this girl came to me and was just like, oh hey, I want these, like what do you think? I had to like tell her like, no bro, like don't buy those they're counterfeit. And the guy's not saying that, but like the guy is capitalizing off of the fact that women don't really go or they don't really have the same, I won't say the same access, but their knowledge to access of sneakers is a little skewed. And there are plenty of women who aren't on Twitter that hit me up all the time like, can you help me get these? Can you help me get these? And I like I said, I do try my best, and I think that there's a lot of people like me and Juan out there that want to see these in the hands of women, but I don't want to just like buy a size and just be like hitting some girl up on Twitter and she ask me for a size, and then it just comes off as, or it comes off as, all right, well I bought him, he's bought me shoes, and now it comes off as like the same way guys act when a girl buys them a drink at the bar. It's like something's expected back. Like I don't want anybody to feel like they owe me anything just because I wanted to help them get a shoe. Like that's not why I'm at your doorstep. I'm legit trying to.
I mean, that's when you tell them that though, right? Like you tell them like, listen, like I'm doing this because I really want to help you get the shoe. Yada yada yada.
That's right. Just make me your sneaker buddy. Just try to hit 10 and a half, 11 and everything. And
that was cool.
Girl, you took words out my mouth.
Please. Wait, I missed it. When she said?
She said her size.
Yeah, like
yo, please. Alright.
All the dudes in the space, go find a woman in your life that likes sneakers, be her sneaker buddy, and work it out that way.
Buddy system for real.
Like back in the day in elementary school.
Yeah. Because I really do feel like we have the community that can make so many changes to the community to be whatever we want. Hell, if they want to resell for the Austin South to be $500, they can do that, but money keeps talking in the wrong way. You know what one thing for
I almost forgot this was right here. I'm sorry. I can't hear you, Sam.
Sam, you're on mute.
The broadcast.
I almost forgot this was right here.
Somebody got
It is, and I don't know how to stop it.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you, Sam.
Let me text
Sam,
it.
you're on mute.
That's your
The broadcast. I almost forgot this was right here.
Somebody
It is, and I don't know how to stop it.
I'm sorry.
I don't know how
I can't hear
somebody.
you, Sam.
Let me
Sam,
text it.
you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, we
Okay.
got
I just text Legend and told him to stop the broadcast, so he should be able to stop the live in a second.
oh, okay.
He said he went to eat. I don't know if he eating the whole house or what, but